triple digits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
National
high
Heat
of
Index.
96 today. Heat index up to 112.
I don't miss high school football one bit in summer. That's exactly what I just thought about.
Horrible.
I mean, playing on turf, if it's 112, add another 10 degrees to that and full pads, no thanks.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to cool down a little bit tomorrow, but like high of 91, so not quite as hot tomorrow. I think the Titans players reporting to training camp are very glad that they are not out there for practice today.
Yeah, and also, too, they're playing on natural grass, which helps to a certain degree. Not all the way.
Is it natural grass out there?
Think so.
It's always been that way.
Interesting, because they play on turf.
The bubble
I know the bubble's
turf.
turf. Yeah.
But the regular field is natural grass.
Interesting.
Which, again, doesn't make sense to the NFL's point of why they can't have a natural grass field.
Yeah. If you can't, can you maintain it in your practice facility? Can you maintain it in the stadium? I don't know.
It also makes sense, too, because they don't have concerts on the practice facility.
That is true. They're not just rolling out Bailey Zimmerman and Morgan Wallen out there at Vanderbilt Health Sports Park. But it is the opening day of training camp. We have made it 26 teams, including the Tennessee Titans, report to training camp today. That means all 32 teams are back, and we are gearing up for football season. Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh going to speak to the media coming up at noon today. So we won't have reaction today. It'll be right after we go off the air, but throughout the day on the station, we'll have it, and we'll react tomorrow with Corey Curtis in with us. But yesterday with Parker, we went through the biggest questions facing the Titans heading into training camp. And after we wrapped up, I realized that we only really stuck with players. And the coaching staff, there are a lot of questions specifically around Robert Saleh. One of the biggest issues with Brian Callahan is you just felt like he wasn't a great culture builder. He wasn't the guy who was going to stand in front of the room, command it, and get all 90 players, 53 in the season, to buy into his vision. Saleh is more of the rah-rah. He's going to fire you up. He's got, the big reactions on the sideline, the typical players coach that you talk about. I do think these next 6 weeks during training camp, gearing up for the season, are really important in terms of setting his culture and getting this locker room to buy in that this season is going to be different from the previous two here in Nashville.
Yeah, I think three coaches' names that come to mind, obviously Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll, and in this case, Aaron Whitecotton. Connor and I mentioned it last night about just the depth of the defensive line and how much they invested in the offseason at that, position group. For me, each one of those coaches, they set their own culture in that position group, which then umbrellas over Robert Saleh's idea of what he wants for a full culture for this franchise. And I mean, maybe you could even include a guy like Gus Bradley as well as the defensive coordinator, because that seems to be Robert Saleh's right-hand man in some cases as a mentor-esque on this roster.
Yeah, and we've talked about the experience from all these guys. You mentioned Gus Bradley, Brian Daboll, John Fossil. All these guys have significant experience at their positions and beyond. Have been head coaches at some point or another, interim head coach for Bones Fossil. But you've also got, you're right, like you've got the personalities that kind of fit what Robert Saleh wants. You look at Daboll, and he's a fiery guy. He's going to get after guys. Gus Bradley, I thought my favorite, mic'd up that they did during the offseason program was Gus Bradley. Like, he was running up and down the field. He was talking some trash. And then Aaron Whitecotton said he wants to be a rabid raccoon or a deranged raccoon. He wants to be a deranged raccoon out there on the field. It does seem, in general, that the coaching staff does fit the persona of their head coach in Robert Saleh as they try and build this culture.
Yeah, and even some of the names that are not mentioned, a reoccurring name for this Titans offense as a tight ends coach is Luke Stocker, someone who's been with this franchise through and through, a guy that has, I would say, gone the Arthur Smith route in some aspects.
Yeah, worked his way up,
and maybe he's not the big rah-rah guy on the surface, but he understands what needs to be done. He understands the culture at hand that needs to be come across for that position.
Well, and yeah, being the rah-rah hype man, getting after players, that's part of it, right? You want players to want to play for you. You have to be able to motivate your players. But there's also the big part of being coach is technique and being able to put your players in the right situations to succeed. And I agree with you about Luke Stocker kind of following the Arthur Smith route of Arthur Smith was retained by multiple coaching staffs as they switched around. A lot of these head coaches come in and they want their guys. And it's like, yeah, you were with the previous staff, but I've got this guy lined up that I want to be my tight ends coach. Luke Stalker has carried over. He's one of those up and coming guys. And Robert Saleh did talk about when he hired Brian Daboll of having that succession plan of, yeah, you hire a guy like Brian Daboll who's been a head coach in the past and has shown he can be a successful offensive coordinator. There's probably going to be interest if he has success here. You have to have a plan of who's going to be next. I wouldn't be shocked if Luke Stalker is on the short list of guys currently in the building who could be considered for the offensive coordinator position if Brian Daboll was to leave.
Yeah, and I feel like that position in general, the tight ends position, it gels so well with the rest of the offense. It's looked at as an extension of the offensive line. It's looked at as a pass catching position group in some cases. That they understand all the X's and O's and the values at hand at that position to lead to a potential option as a offensive coordinator for sure.
Yeah, I think that Robert Saleh, it was funny when he talked about it. He said, once we start releasing the titles of our coaching staff, like it's going to make more sense of what our succession plan is. And I've read through the coaching staff multiple times. There's nothing that says like assistant offensive coordinator, assistant head coach, or something that would make sense. So I'm sure they have a plan for succession if Brian Daboll does have success and moves on this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if, because Shea Tierney as the quarterback's coach would make a lot of sense too, but he's a Daboll guy. And you wonder if it makes more sense for Daboll if let's say he's the head coach of the Jets next year. Maybe a bad example. I don't know if he'd want to go back to New York. On him. I'm just thinking of a team with a head coach who's pretty clearly on the hot seat. What would be another?
Would you consider Oakland in some aspects?
Well, they just hired Kubiak.
Yeah, it's true. I forgot.
I'm trying to think of Vegas.
Yeah. Let's be politically correct here, gentlemen.
Like, what's a team who
not Minnesota
didn't just hire a head coach who
Colts?
How about Cincinnati?
That works.
Zach Taylor. Let's say they struggle, they miss the playoffs again. Zach Taylor's gone, and they hire Brian Daboll. Wouldn't it make more sense for Daboll to bring his guy to be the offensive coordinator in Tierney than for Tierney to stay behind and be the offensive coordinator here? If it's the same position, I guess maybe he'd call plays here. He wouldn't call plays there. I don't know. I think Stalker makes a whole lot of sense as a possible succession plan. Now, there are other names on this coaching staff that would make sense too, but I do think that maybe he would be the one who doesn't have the direct tie to Brian Daboll, who could stick around and complete that Arthur Smith arc to his coaching career.
It'd be pretty cool. One name that does come to mind on the offensive side of the ball as a coach, and it's Carmen Brasilio, and that's the offensive line coach. The reason why I mentioned his name is Connor and I had the conversation last night about J.C. Latham. Again, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm just putting too much emphasis to it, but I would be concerned in how these tackle positions truly develop through training camp. I need to see some form of progress, some form of positivity coming from that Titans training camp saying these guys are making progress. They're going to be the cornerstone pieces to each part of the tackles, that we're going to be okay. That's what I need to hear.
Yeah, we when we went through the biggest questions facing the Titans in training camp yesterday, my number one question, it was kind of all encompassing. What is the offensive line going to look like? Who's starting at center and right guard? And J.C. Latham, can you get the most out of him? First off, he's got to be healthy. And again, I'm at a 4 on the concern scale right now for J.C. Latham. But if he misses more time, that's going to go up. I don't think he's going to be out for that long. The reporting is it's a short-term injury. He shouldn't miss too much time. But once he gets on the field, can Carmen Brasilio get the most out of Latham and whoever ends up winning those competitions at center and right guard? When you look at this coaching staff, there's a whole lot of pressure on Robert Saleh, of course, as the man in charge. There's a whole lot of pressure on Brian Daboll as the guy who's being tasked with saving Cam Ward and turning him into a franchise quarterback. But outside of those two, I think Carmen Brasilio's got the most pressure on him to try and do some magic on this Titans offensive line that on paper does not look very good.
Yeah, and also, too, we always talk about college football, and we talk about how you don't want to be the guy to succeed the guy for Alabama with Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
Almost in the same sense for a guy like Carmen Brasilio with Bill Callahan. You don't want to be the guy to succeed the guy. Nonetheless, though, he did not do anything when he was here. So it's like, how can you really equate it to being passing the guy? But at the same time, it's a position group that struggled the last handful of years.
I think it's different when Bill Callahan was not very good here. Like,
that's fair.
Maybe you didn't want to be the guy who took over for him in Cleveland after he turned kind of a ragtag bunch of offensive linemen. He He had Leroy Watson starting games for the Browns. He couldn't do anything with him here. I don't know if the Bill Callahan element has more pressure to it. I think honestly, it may just lead to more skepticism around the Titans fan base of, all right, well, they say that this guy's a good offensive line coach, but we've been told that before. You've got to go out and prove it to us.
Right. You're exactly right. Now, the thing is, if Bill Callahan has success in Atlanta, then I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. I do wonder if the dynamic of coaching under your son might have changed the way he did some things, like kind of limited the way that he wanted to approach his coaching style. You don't want to step on your son's toes in his first head coaching opportunity. Now, that doesn't change the fact that most of the offensive linemen around here got worse when Callahan was here, and then all of a sudden started looking better once he left. I don't know why that happened, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic based on what Carmen Brasillo has done in his previous stops in Vegas and New York, that he's going to be able to improve the play from some of these guys. Now, does that mean he's going to be able to turn Austin Slopeman, a career backup, into a high-quality starting center? I think that's probably a stretch. Does that mean he's going to be able to make Jackson Slater an all-pro at right guard? Probably not. But I do think the J.C. Latham of it all, that's his biggest task this year, is can he develop J.C. Latham from a promising player who has disappointed so far based on where he was drafted, but a guy who's shown that he can do it at times, it just hasn't been consistent enough, into a franchise right tackle. I think that is his biggest task this year, and it starts whenever J.C. Latham gets back onto the field.
Yeah, and for those that are probably thinking, what about Dan Moore Jr.? After this year, they have an opt-out. So, like, I feel like he is what he is.
You know what I mean? I'm not worried about Dan Moore because I know what Dan Moore is, right? Exactly like you said. He is what he is.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Dan Moore because I have low expectations for Dan Moore. I think he's going to be a salvageable left tackle. He's going to be somebody who is going to he's not going to be a top half of the league offensive tackle, but he's not going to be Dennis Daly or Andre Dillard. And at this point, I think you can live with it given what you have at the other spots along the offensive line. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans reporting to training camp today. We'll take your thoughts on our phone lines, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll continue our conversation about Robert Saleh coming up next. What does he need to do to build up this culture and get this team heading in the right direction when week one hits against his former team, the New York Jets? Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on your Tuesday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Titans report to training camp today. The offseason has come to an end. Robert Saleh and Mike Borgonzi going to speak to the media today. Dable might as well be the head coach.
On the offensive side.
Oh, yeah, right. It's like you got two of them. But we are excited to hear what they have to say. We'll get more into that later on in the show. With Robert Saleh, I do just think that he's kind of flying under the radar a little bit because he's the last guy in line right now. Right? We've talked about this with the Titans for the last few years. It was John Robinson was at the front of the line, and he got fired. Then eyes turned to Mike Vrabel, and it was like, all right, well, Vrabel's gone. Then eyes turned to, I guess at that point it was Rand Carthon, and kind of Will Levis too in the same vein. It was like, all right, both of those guys are no longer our guy.
Sort of Chad Brinker as well.
Well, then it was Callahan, and then it's Brinker. And now at the front of the line, I would say there's nobody obvious that this year is like you're on the hot seat heading into this season, but it's Borgonzi, it's Ward, it's their time to prove themselves. So I think Saleh is like, all right, it's his first year. He's on the back burner. We've got bigger issues to worry about. But building this culture up, I think, is really important. And it's been a losing culture for the last few years. This is a team that has won 6 games in 2 years. Always mentioned they haven't won back-to-back games in almost 4 calendar years. And Jared from Spring Hill asked the question, if they lose week 1 to the Jets, then what? And I don't want to overreact to 1 week because there's still a chance that they can figure it out. But when we talk about building this winning culture, these next 6 weeks, it's a ramp-up process. And Saleh is going to be trying to get the buy-in from the players and say, this is a team that can make the playoffs this year. You guys are good enough. Everybody in this room, they may be doubting us out there, but in this room, we believe. And it's like it's a ramp-up process, and you get to week 1, and it can go one of 2 directions. Either you keep going up, and you can ride that momentum into the season, or it could take a really steep drop-off. So I agree with Jared from Spring Hill. It's like week 1 of the Jets, yeah, you can turn it around, but I think right now you're trying to build up all this momentum and all this energy heading into the season, and it could really be a punch in the gut if you drop week 1 to a very beatable Jets team at home.
Yeah, week 1 is I'll say it, it's a must-win game. And to build the culture off of week 1, I feel like these Titans players currently on the roster, there may be a handful of them that recall the, earlier years of this two-tone blue Tennessee Titans team from the early 2000s into the 2010s when they were okay. Again, you're honoring one of the best running backs in the franchise's history, Chris Johnson, for the Ring of Honor. You need to take that with pride. You need to be playing with more than just, we got to beat the Jets in week 1. This is what the history and lineage of a franchise like the Tennessee Titans is about.
Yes.
I think that's what sets your culture. And if Robert Saleh can get a good grasp of that through the fan base, being, immersed into the community, I think that's what gets you over the hump.
Yeah, I just think week 1, with everything that goes into it, you mentioned Chris Johnson being put in the Ring of Honor. Again, not like it's still a football game. You got to go out and win it no matter what's going on, but it's at home. It's your opener, final year of the old stadium. It's your first game. You're coaching against your former team, and this is a team that hasn't won their first game of the season and started 1-0 since 2020. There's so much that goes into this, and it's like, man, if you win that game, it feels like that could spark a turnaround here. Turnaround doesn't mean you're going to go 10-7 this year, but it could be the spark that you need to get some good feelings back in the fan base and in the locker room. So I think it's big. I think the first time we're going to start to see his progress towards that culture and that buy-in from his players is going to be the joint practices. I think we're going to see it. San Francisco, Chicago, Seattle. You're going to start to see what's the compete level from this team. That doesn't mean you're getting into brawls, but you're going up against 3 playoff teams from last year and three teams that I think all fancy themselves Super Bowl contenders this year. Whether you believe it or not, I think in those buildings, San Francisco, they're getting towards the end of their window with guys like Kittle and McCaffrey, and they get Fred Warner back from injury, and they've got Bosa. Like, that's a team that believes they have the pieces to go win a Super Bowl. The Bears are an ascending team. They were 1 or 2 plays away from the NFC Championship last year. They think they can take another step. Seattle just won the Super Bowl. So how do you, as a team that's won 6 games over the past 2 years, go compete with teams like that in joint practices. I think that's going to be a reflection of your head coach and the buy-in that he's been able to get through the first few weeks of training camp.
Yeah, 100%. And with the way Robert Saleh carries himself as a head coach in these, joint practices is also going to set the tone for the rest of the team. I mean, obviously you want to see the team go after the players and so forth on the other side of the ball. But at the same time, if your head coach is kind of getting into it, like we've seen before with the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, I mean, it makes sense. But again, Robert Saleh, Kyle Shanahan, they're all friends. Regardless of what his injuries may be after his accident,
right?
We'll see if he'll be there.
Yeah, hopefully he's at least on the mend by then.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just think there's a lot to be said about a coach's fiery attitude when it comes to preseason, like you're alluding to there. It's going to be a huge part for sure.
And it's not all fiery stuff. Like, I don't want to make it seem like we're just saying like, oh, he's just got to be the rah-rah guy.
Right.
But we saw, not to bring it back, was it like a year ago right now, the backwards cap Brian Callahan clip?
Yes.
Or was that in OTAs or minicamp?
I think it was OTAs.
It was right before the first preseason game, I think.
I thought it was like day 1 of training camp. Like that was his opening speech, but maybe it was closer to preseason. Like I thought maybe it was like today, first team meeting and I believe and all that kind of stuff. And
that's where he brought Jelly Roll.
That was when Ian made the mashup with him and did you touch my drum set?
Yeah.
From the Step Brothers. Like Callahan didn't have that it factor that he commanded a room. I think Saleh does have that.
Yeah.
And that's not everything. Saleh's going to be calling the plays on defense. He's got to be good with that. I also think a huge part of believing in Saleh in year 1, and it seems simple, but we saw last year that it wasn't simple, just the game management stuff. When to challenge, how to use your timeouts, handling a 2-minute drill at the end of the half, and when to go for it, when to run out the clock and just get yourself to halftime. All of the little minute things that happen in a game that fall on the head coach, that kind of stuff is really important too. So we won't see that until the regular season, at least when it matters. We won't see it till the regular season. So that's why I think we're focusing on the leadership aspect, but there is a lot that's going to go into Robert Saleh being successful in year 1.
Yeah. And, we've already mentioned the name before in the first segment, but Brian Daboll, I think, when we try to look at this culture that Saleh is trying to build, I kind of put Daboll in his own category a little bit. Like you've alluded to already, he carries himself like a true head coach. And I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's a different type of culture, but it's still under the same umbrella as what Saleh is trying to establish.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really helpful too. Not that Robert Saleh shouldn't be checking in on the offense. Like Robert Saleh does need to he needs to be the CEO. He can't be the defensive coordinator who holds the red flag, which that's kind of what Callahan felt like. He was the offensive coordinator who had the red flag in his back pocket.
But the difference though, is that he had Nick Holtz up in the press box just for suggestions from what we all know of.
Right.
Whereas for Daboll is actually a solidified play caller. And same with Gus Bradley as a true solidified mentor.
Well, I'm saying on the opposite side, like he had Denard Wilson.
Right.
But it felt like Callahan just kind of left that to him. And Brian Daboll certainly has the pedigree that he's going to be the head coach of the offense. Like he's going to be in charge of that unit on the ball. Robert Saleh needs to be involved in that side of the ball, but also it is nice to have somebody he can lean on, like you're saying, in Brian Daboll.
Right. Someone to oversee what you're doing. And that's what a head coach should do. I mean, you're right, Jake. That's what a head coach is there for. It's in the job title.
It's that there are guys who are meant to be head coaches and there are guys who aren't. And I think we'll see that with Robert Saleh as well of, yes, you're the defensive play caller and that is a big part of your job. But I hated when Brian Callahan said last year when he gave up play calling that he didn't know what to do with himself. It's like, you're the head coach of the team. There's so much more that goes into it than just calling plays. I get why Robert Saleh wants to call plays. He wants to feel invested on every snap and be involved with the flow of the game. Great. But he's got to be the CEO of the team too. And maybe a better point when comparing the two coaching staffs here is Callahan's number 2 on offense was Nick Holtz, who had zero experience as a play caller, maybe a little bit as on an interim basis, but it's not like he was this experienced veteran guy that he could lean on. Saleh does have Gus Bradley, and if there are other things taking away from Saleh's attention on defense, hey, I've got to go check in on the offense and talk with Brian about what Cam's up to. We've got to work through the offensive game plan. Gus, can you handle that? And I have no doubt that Gus Bradley, with his years of experience as a defensive coordinator, as a head coach, is going to be able to handle that side of the ball. I don't know if you could have said that for Nick Holtz if Brian Callahan had to walk away for a few hours.
No, not at all. Because we all saw that domino effect happen after Callahan, then it was Holtz. Then after Holtz, it was Bo Hardigree. And Bo Hardigree, I don't think, like, there were some improvements from time to time with the play calling, but it wasn't a drastic change from to yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I do think experience on this coaching staff, we've harped on that all offseason, that is a huge step forward. Adults are back in the room on the coaching staff. But there are a lot of checkpoints that you have to see for Robert Saleh to prove that he is a good head coach who just kind of got a raw deal in New York with bad quarterback play, bad ownership, got stuck with Aaron Rodgers, who then gets hurt. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances with Robert Saleh that he dealt with in New York. He's got to prove that was a Jets problem, not a Robert Saleh problem. That starts with building the culture in training camp. Then we'll see all of the other day-to-day, play-to-play stuff once the season rolls around.
Yeah, I think the best way to equate, or I guess to compare those both, is Brian Callahan was given the keys to this team. As for Robert Saleh, I feel like he was given the key to the front door and then the key to the car, but that was it. All the other keys were still handed up by ownership and other, I guess, players and coaches on the staff, because you hired Nathaniel Hackett to be with Aaron Rodgers, and that was a marriage in itself. And you have Saleh kind of off to the side trying to, make this team his when it truly wasn't.
Right. Yeah, I think Saleh has learned from some of his mistakes with New York, including the coaching staff. You meant like the Hackett thing, that was purely for Aaron Rodgers. The last year and a half, it was Aaron Rodgers' team, and Robert Saleh was just holding the clipboard. But the first 2 years, Saleh was trying to build around Zach Wilson. Obviously, we know what Zach Wilson is at this point, but he brought in the up-and-coming offensive coordinator. He brought in Mike LaFleur, which Mike LaFleur now is a head coach in Arizona. He's a good coach, but he was a guy who hadn't done it before. And I think Robert Saleh may have said, I'm going to lean on Mike on the offensive side of the ball, and it didn't work out. Bringing in Brian Daboll shows a correction from Robert Saleh on a mistake that he made early on in his Jets tenure.
Yeah, 100%. And, kind of looking at Brian Callahan to Robert Saleh, I feel like when Saleh left the Jets and went to Green Bay, he left to go to the same type of culture, a winning culture. As for Callahan, I'm not saying he didn't, after he left the Titans or after they departed both ways, it was more of he went to the Giants. And to the Giants, to me, it's like, I hate to say it like this, it's like old money. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With John Harbaugh.
The New York Giants.
Yeah, it's just that era of old money with the Giants, in my opinion. Then you have, Saleh that goes to Green Bay. It's a very historic franchise that prides themselves on winning.
Yeah.
They've only had 3 quarterbacks in the last 40 years or something like that.
Yes.
To me, that shows that he knows the direction of what franchise to be about.
Yeah.
Like what he wants for his culture to be.
Yeah.
As for Callahan, I'm not saying no discredit to Callahan for what culture he's trying to establish, but I think he's just going with the more established name to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, that was the coaching staff in New York that Titans fans were dreading. Matt Nagy. And now you got Brian Callahan over there. Obviously, Titans fans wanted John Harbaugh for sure.
Sure.
His speech was interesting. Did we talk about that on Friday?
Yeah.
Have you seen the speech, Connor? That was what I was referencing with the New York Giants.
Which one?
Harbaugh's speech in front of the team on the first day of training camp last week.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, we'll watch it during the break. He is it's a little cringeworthy.
I've been a little bit out of the loop over the last week.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans training camp has begun, and 1025 The Game will keep you in the know with the latest updates and player interviews as the team preps for the 2026-27 season. Coverage of Titans training camp is presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants, Parman Tractor and Equipment, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. More Titans talk coming up on the other side. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Titans training camp opens up today. Going to be a lot of content on the YouTube channel coming up here. Borgonzi, Saleh speaking at noon to kick off training camp. Practice number 1 is tomorrow at, I want to say 10:15?
10:15.
10:15. So excited for that. Team will be out on the field, open to the media. We'll have Corey Curtis in tomorrow to break down everything that Saleh and Borgonzi had to say. We're going through Robert Saleh in his first year. I don't feel like there's much pressure on Robert Saleh. You're taking over a team that's won 6 games in the last 2 years. Just show improvement. Show improvement. And again, that starts right now with building a musical response to Robert Saleh. He says, hopefully at Christmas we're singing Saleh la 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 la. Or as Adam Vingan on, I've heard it on the imaging, Salaleluya. Hopefully that's what we're saying at Christmas time. Instead of, this is to the tune of Bohemian Rhapsody. Saleh, you.
Don't do dumb that hurt the team.
I did my best on that, Dustin. I hope I honored your work. I thought that was pretty well done.
Jake channeling his inner Freddie Mercury. I love it.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if there might be people swerving into oncoming traffic after that one, but
Can't be worse than the time I sing Western Kentucky's fight song
that
live
is
on
true,
air.
man. What was that? 3 years ago at this point?
Yeah, everyone that was there was gone. It's gone now. I'm the only one left.
Wrapping up on the Saleh conversation, I think that's a perfect clip that you just put. Don't do dumb bleep to hurt the team.
That hurt the team.
And Brian Callahan did a lot of dumb bleep to hurt the team over the past couple of years. I mean, week 1, I still look back at week 1, and we were heading into the season. You know, there were red flags with Brian Callahan from training camp, but I think a lot of people were urging patience, saying, give this guy a chance in year 2. And week 1 could not have been more of an utter disaster for him. The way he handled the game management at the end of the first half, an elbow doesn't equal 2 feet in his press conference. It could not have gone worse. Robert Saleh doesn't have to be Mike Vrabel knowing every single, he doesn't need to know every single rule, but it doesn't have to be where the NFL Twitter account is posting, look at how smart Robert Saleh was here. I don't need him to have those Mike Vrabel moments. It'd be great if he did. Just don't hurt the team by not knowing stuff or handling time management wrong, going into the half with timeouts in your pocket when you could have scored, or being too aggressive when you're in a game where you probably should just rely on your defense. We saw that in the Broncos game too. Don't do dumb bleep to hurt the team.
And I think that's why he has Gus Bradley on his staff as well, is when you have a guy like that I've already mentioned is a mentor to you and knows the, I'd say, rule book a little bit more than the head coach in some aspects.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say in every aspect, but in some aspects that there's a way where, that can be okay. I mean, you have somebody to fall back on.
Right. Not everybody is going to be Mike Vrabel running a 12th man onto the field and doing it purposefully
to stop the clock,
or having Wesley Woodyard jump on a punt 3 times in a row to keep running time off the clock. All of that stuff is great. And we applauded Mike Vrabel for it. It's great that he can do that stuff. And I'd love to have moments like that with Robert Saleh where he can take advantage of a little loophole. But you can't be a reason the team loses. That is the biggest thing with the head coach. You can't hurt the team. And Brian Callahan had too many moments throughout his year and a half where he hurt the team. So with Robert Saleh, training camp, I think a lot of it is about building the culture, getting buy-in from the locker room. And then we'll see once the season rolls around, can he be the good game day coach that Brian Callahan too often was not?
I think the big question that Titans fans are going to probably have to answer to themselves is the one time when if it does happen this season, if there is a situation on offense to where Brian Daboll is, I wouldn't say overruling what Robert Saleh wants to do. I'm just saying if there's like a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3 on your own, 45-yard line, probably if it's early in the game, they know the offense has been gelling all game for the first half. Maybe they should probably punt it, but stats say maybe go for it. I feel like that's the true meshing point where maybe something's going to happen.
Yeah, like there are some situations where it's always going to be hindsight's 2020. If you get it, it's a great decision. If you don't get it, it's a bad decision. Those ones you can live with because there are going to be 50-50 calls for head coaches. And yeah, you'd like to feel like your head coach is smart and knows what to do in those situations. It's the times when it's obvious what you need to do and the head coach doesn't seem to get it.
Yeah.
And like that happened too much with Callahan. We've seen other coaches. I don't want to rag only on Brian Callahan. There have been other coaches. Nathaniel Hackett, we can go back to him. His first game with the Broncos when they had a chance to kick the field goal to win it or something and then went for it on 4th down and 5 and didn't get it. That's the kind of stuff that you can't have from your head coach. So that'll be more of an in-season thing for these next couple weeks leading up to the joint practices. I want to see a team that is bought in and believes in their head coach and can play for that guy. And I think the first benchmark we'll see that in will be the joint practices.
100%. I'm excited for these joint practices to see how, the defense responds, because I think obviously we all know the cliche of defense wins championships, but also they set the tone for the rest of the season. I think that's the big thing that obviously you bring Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley in for, is to set the tone with their culture. Let that defensive line do all the talking.
2 weeks from today, joint practice in Santa Clara.
Time flies.
Can't wait. Ricky Merritt has chimed in on Twitter. He says, please don't ever sing again to me. Fine.
We just need some vocal coaching. I can help you.
Yeah, okay. You might have to help me. Rick also called me a mega nerd last week for not liking wrestling.
You are. He's right.
We haven't talked about this yet, Connor. Thoughts on Tom Brady and all the stuff that he's doing?
Midlife crisis.
There you go. That's all I said. I said I'm not ragging on wrestling. Like, you can like wrestling. It's not my thing.
It's beneath him.
I think it's beneath Tom Brady.
It's absolutely he's the greatest football player of all time, arguably.
Yeah.
So he has achieved way more than fighting Logan Paul in a scripted fight.
Exactly.
We're good.
Exactly.
We don't need to see that.
Yep, I agree. But it's okay, Rick. I forgive you for calling me a mega nerd.
I mean, Tom Brady now joins Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, who are some former NFL athletes that went to WWE.
Those two, Baron Corbin.
But there's a difference between being an NFL athlete and the NFL athlete. Like, he's the greatest NFL player of all time. I would get this if, let's say 2 years from now, Will Levis flames out of the league. He would be a prime candidate to go to WWE.
I'm telling you, prime candidate right now.
And nobody would bat an eye. You're the greatest quarterback of all time. You're getting paid 8 figures every year from Fox to go call NFL games. You don't need to be doing it.
You know when this started, right? The roast.
Yeah.
That's when it went down.
Yeah, no, the roast was definitely the first domino to fall, and he's gotten into this stuff. Rant over. We don't need to dig into this much further, but
Diego Pavia should consider a wrestling career.
Diego Pavia would be a great WWE wrestler.
He'd be a heel.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll wrap up the first hour talking Titans after this. Again, training camp opens up today. First practice is tomorrow. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, wrapping up the first hour on this Tuesday, opening day of Titans training camp. Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh going to speak at noon today. I don't know if you guys saw this. Paul Kuharski put out an article the other day about how much the players get made, or get made, how much the players make.
What is this,
during
Goodfellas?
training camp. I don't know. I was mixing up get paid and how much they make, and we got get made. How
Glad
much
there wasn't an L in there.
Yeah, that would have been a really interesting article from Paul Kuharski.
That'd be a great segment.
How much the players make during training camp, because they don't get their game salaries, obviously, till you start playing games. So it's $2,000 a week for rookies, $3,500 a week for veterans, which don't want to act like that's not a lot of money, right? Like, you can live pretty comfortably off of $2,000 a week. And like, for some of these rookies, your undrafted guys, like $2,000 a week, probably pretty nice for them. Depending on what they were making in college. I don't know.
Sure.
But it is funny to imagine like Jeffrey Simmons, who just signed a $100 million deal, getting paid $3,500 a week during training camp, which might be the most grueling part of the year, where you're practicing in the heat 4, 5, 6 days a week, getting ready for the season, maybe not quite in football shape yet. Like, it is funny to imagine the guys getting paid at the top end. It's like, man, how do they live off of $3,500 a week?
And how many weeks is training camp? 3? 4?
I don't know.
So what, 3, 4 weeks?
Because there's a different, like, they break camp at some point during the preseason. I don't know exactly when it ends, because Robert Saleh is having the players stay at a hotel. Like, some coaches, it'll be different. Like, they'll let the veterans stay home. They'll have the younger players stay in the hotel. I believe I saw in this article from Paul Kuharski that Saleh has the entire team staying in a hotel during training camp.
Nice. I love it.
I think it's good, especially as a first-year head coach. We were talking about setting the culture. Like, I do think these are the moments early on that build up that team chemistry. And it's not everything. You got to have talent. But I do think the teams that succeed usually have that cohesion that gets built during training camp when they're around each other all the time. You remember when the Titans first started to turn things around. It's the Bussin' with the Boys guys. Like, it was Compton, Lawan, and I will give you guys $20 if you can remember who the third guy who was a big part of like the team culture building. I think it was the 2017 offseason, 2016 maybe.
Darren Bates?
No. I don't even know if he ever actually played for the Titans. He might have gotten cut.
Well, that eliminates my guess. I was going to say Ben Jones.
Michael Campanaro was his name.
Oh, man.
I remember him.
Good
Yeah.
name.
So that was that when they were playing like the where they went around with the squirt guns and got each other around. That was during training camp, I want to say. And it was those three. It was Michael Campanaro, Will Compton, and Taylor Lewan. Like, not saying you need something like that, but these are the moments where guys are going to start to build that team culture, especially under a new coach. So I do like that they're going to be staying in a hotel during training camp.
It all makes sense now after hearing that, because back in the spring when they were going through, just rookies reporting and they're all getting, used to everything, the playbooks, so forth. Robert Saleh mentioned there's a bit of a Titans baby boom going on. All those players are with their families in that sense. Now it's business.
Yeah.
Now we get to nobody's above the team. Nobody is, coming in late. We're all at a hotel. We're, like you said, building that cohesion.
Yep.
We're here for business.
Yep. And players reporting, Cam Ward is they've already posted the video of him showing up. The sky was dark. Just for anybody wondering, the sky was still dark. So Cam Ward living up to what he talks about all the time of getting there early. I will say that was a great guess by you. And Chad guessed Darren Bates on the text line too. I would say he wasn't the guy I was thinking of, but yes, I would include him in that conversation of the guys who kind of shaped the culture and the team building that year.
Yeah, he was a special teams, like, not genius, but he was a special teams, like, grit and grind type guy.
You need those special teams guys. Like, I remember before they signed Darren Bates, the Titans special teamers, like, not your returners, but just like your gunners, the guys that you trusted on special teams to go make plays, they didn't have anybody. And they signed Bates and they signed Brendan Trewick. And like those guys immediately became special teams aces and kind of turned things around. So those are valuable guys at the back end of your roster that maybe you don't think about enough. They don't play a ton on offense or a ton on defense, but they make plays for you on special teams.
He catapulted his career a little bit because he went to Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, and played a handful of years there, right?
Yeah, Batesy's been around. He played with the Raiders for a while. Well, actually, I think he came to the Titans from the Raiders.
Better be writing this down, Frazier. He may show up.
That
later.
is
Right.
true.
You're right.
So Darren Bates, do you want me to just give you the full career path?
Sure.
You might have to wait a few weeks to bring him up on Where Are They Now.
Yeah, I'll let this one marinate. Then we'll do it.
Rams, Raiders, Titans, Texans, back to the Titans, then the Falcons.
Wow.
And now he's coaching for the Panthers. He's the assistant special teams coordinator.
Back to special teams.
Yeah.
There
I hope
go.
you wrote that down. He'll come up later.
2011 BCS national champion with Auburn.
Right. Yeah, he was on the Cam Newton team.
That is correct.
Yeah. No, and special teams, again, not as important as offense or defense, but it's still really important. We saw that this year, just like the team still wasn't very good, but the difference in feeling with the special teams under Ackerman and Anderson versus under Bones Fossil, night and day. And so I do think that that's something you can feel good about this year. You've got a great special teams coordinator, and I think you have good special teamers on this team. You have guys that you can trust on special teams. Gunners, I mean, Bryce Oliver has proven when he's healthy that he's a really good gunner. Who is the guy? Dorian Mousey, who they claimed off waivers from the Vikings, was great on special teams last year. I'm excited to see what the mechanic can do on special teams in preseason. Of all the things that we would never care about in the regular season, but we're doing like deep dives on in the preseason, third quarter special team snaps for Jaren Kanak are going to be top of my list.
I mean, as a rookie, you got to be able to set your name somewhere. You got to make a name for yourself, and special teams is the way to break through.
Somebody also texted in yesterday, and we never got to it. The fourth quarter Will Levis to Xavier Restrepo connection, that's going to be electric, isn't it? Like that. These are the things that, again, both those guys, I think, are on the outside looking in to make the team. I would say, if I had to guess right now, they both don't make the team. But, man, Titans fans are going to be dialed in on Will Levis and Xavier Restrepo late in those games.
You really think Will Levis is not going to be a third? You think
I
they're
don't
going to
think
take
they're going to
three
keep
quarterbacks?
three quarterbacks. That would be
Really?
my guess.
I just see them keeping three quarterbacks because everywhere Dable's been, it's been three quarterbacks in his system.
Maybe. And maybe they do. And if they do, it's because he has no value to anybody else.
Right.
So that would be my thought process. The only way that he stays is if you can't get anything for him, because he's going to walk at the end of the year. He's a free agent. But no, I do see what you're saying, that Dable has typically liked to have three quarterbacks. He had Dart, Wilson, Winston last year with the Giants. So maybe that is in the cards. I'd have to eat a lot of crow because I've been saying Levis, there was no chance he'd be on the team.
It's okay. I've done a lot of that on these airways before. It's okay.
I'm shocked he's still on the team. It was funny. I said to my wife yesterday, something about Levis possibly being traded, and she's like, "He's still here?" I was like, "Yeah. I'm as incredulous as you are."
I mean, you're right. He's like that bug during the middle of the summer. It's like that little gnat or horsefly that just doesn't want to go away.
Right.
How dare you compare him to a bug?
He's a horsefly, man. He's
yeah,
massive.
That's his wildcat.
I'm sorry, man.
I don't want him here either, but come on.
I feel like a horsefly is a respectable insect to compare Will Levis to.
I have no problem with Will Levis, and I think that gets misconstrued when I'm saying I want him to get traded. I have no problem with him. I think he could be a good quarterback somewhere else. I just think that it's better for both sides to not be here. Will Levis knows he's never going to be the franchise quarterback here. The Titans have already moved on with their guy. They've got a $5 million backup in Mitch Trubisky. I just think it makes sense to cut ties. But if you can't get anything for him, he's probably going to stick around.
No, it's not going to hurt to keep him around. I mean, unless it's a culture thing. But again, back to your point about keeping everybody in a hotel together.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a little bit of merit to that for a guy like Will Levis. Maybe he learns a little something there. I don't know.
I do think Will Levis is one of those guys. He's for the boys, right? Like he's guys like him in the locker room, I would assume.
You know, when he was the starting quarterback a couple seasons ago, they kind of forced him into that position. I remember there was one press conference he talked about, I'm journaling now. And I wonder if that journaling has stopped and you're more focused on football. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We will see. I think we're going to get into towards the end of the show questions that we want to hear Mike Borgonzi asked. I think the Will Levis question is definitely something that could be brought up today of what's the plan for him? Do you see him as a part of this team this year, or do you think that maybe his future would be best off somewhere else? I think you'd get a coach speak type answer of he's a part of our team right now and we're going to do what's best for the team and for Will moving forward, like something like that. But can't hurt to ask the question.
Yeah. Or is it possible to say that is Brian going to keep 3 quarterbacks like he's done in previous stints? Like that's simple as that.
Yeah, that is true. That could be a good question as well. 615-737-1025. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Hour number 2 coming up next. We'll have more Titans talk. We'll have some college football. And Vandy got some great news on the hoops front yesterday. We'll touch on that too. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans training camp opens up today. Mike Borgonzi, Robert Saleh going to speak to the media coming up at noon. We'll have plenty more Titans talk and NFL talk in general throughout the rest of the show as all 32 teams report to training camp at the very latest today. 6 were already in camp, 26 report today. Football season is almost here, which leads me to where I wanted to go next. I saw a debate over the weekend between some college football podcasters, voices in the college football media community. Josh Pate was one of them, debating over whether week 0 counts as the official start of football season. I think there's just a feeling you get at some point. Like, I don't have it yet, even though training camps have started and you're going to start to see practices. I don't get the feeling that it is officially football season. You get into the preseason games, then you get week 0. To you, does week 0 count as the beginning of the college football season?
As much as I want to say no, I have to say yes. It's football. It's meaningful football that goes against your record, and it allows you to be in the conversation of a playoff team or not a playoff team. Nonetheless, you're not going to see a big Power 4 school that's competing for a college football playoff spot in week 0. But I do think I would say yes. I would lean yes, it does, because it goes against schedule record. But I could see where the other argument is, though.
Connor, what do you think? Do you think that week 0 is the official start of the college football season?
Yes and no, because like he said, there's meaningful games. I think this year you've got the Ireland game with North Carolina and TCU. So that's an important game. Not that I think either of those teams are college football playoff contenders, but it's meaningful football. With that being said, the true pride and joy of college football is that week 1 where
Labor Day weekend, yeah,
where your team is playing, and usually for our sake, it's during the day. So, Kentucky will kick off at noon against South Alabama or someone like that. And then we watch that, and then you kind of get the afternoon slate, and maybe there's something interesting going on. Like for me, I'll probably check out Ole Miss, or they play Sunday this year.
Yeah, they play Louisville.
They're in Nissan.
Yep.
I'll probably be at that game then. But you find something on the afternoon slate, and then you get to the nightcap, and this year it'll be LSU and Clemson. So week 1 to me is such a meaningful weekend because it's become a whole weekend now. It's one of the best weekends in sports.
Yeah.
But technicality, week 0 is the start of football season, but to me, it doesn't truly start till the next week.
Yeah, so that was the argument of you'd see people posting, oh, we are 4 weeks away from football starting. And other people are saying, well, yeah, not really, though, because week 0, you've got 6 games and only a handful of them are actually decent. I see both sides, but I do think this year you've at least got games that you want to tune in for. Like last year, the Farmageddon in Dublin was a good game. Outside of that, I can't even remember some of the other games that were played week 0. This year, you've got NC State, Virginia. That was supposed to be in Brazil. They moved it back to Charlottesville, but that's a conference game in week 1. North Carolina, TCU. We'll talk about that one in a second because there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. USC plays San Jose State. You get to see Jaden Mayava. USC with Lincoln Riley, a team that I think a lot of people view as a possible dark horse. You've got Florida State playing New Mexico State, Memphis UNLV. I know you're a big UNLV guy with Dan Mullen over there. And who's their quarterback this year?
It was the former Virginia guy.
Well, yeah, but he left. Calandria.
Yeah. Let me double check.
Is it Alex Orji?
No, they've got.
He is
on the roster. Who was the other one? Maybe it is Alex Orji that I was thinking of.
Because last year they had the one guy that left because he wasn't getting paid as NIL.
Yeah, Anthony Calandria. Oh, no, yeah, I know who you're talking about. He dipped before the season started. And did he ever?
No, he played
he played all season.
No, he played 3 or 4 games, and he was the starter. And then he dipped.
Anthony Calandria was the quarterback.
Anthony Calandria.
Calandria left halfway through the season?
I thought he played the full season. Did he not?
Who was the guy who...
Yeah, he played the... No, I guess he didn't. Wait a minute.
Who they told him he was going to get his money and he never did, and then he left.
That's what I'm thinking of. It wasn't Calandria, was it?
It wasn't
No.
UNLV.
Calandria played all season last year. He had 3,400 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. He transferred to Nebraska.
Matthew Sluka.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that was the guy that they did not uphold the verbal promises made to him, so he transferred. So that was it. That was 2 years ago.
Was it?
Time flies. Yeah, that was 2024.
I just remember being in
So
college.
that's what it was. Yeah, it was 2 years ago, and then Calandria started last year.
Has Dan Mullen been at UNLV for 2 years?
Yeah, this is his third season.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. So yeah, it is Alex Orji.
Because Anthony Calandria last year was dominating UNLV's schedule.
I thought last year was his first year.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Wow.
He got everybody in the portal to go over there.
And Calandria is now the Dylan Raiola replacement at Nebraska.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, like that's a half decent game. UNLV, Memphis, who their coach Charles Huff made some headlines. Did you see this from American Media Days?
No.
He basically said like, I'm not going to be here in 3 to 4 years because I'm going to get a Power 4 job.
Yeah, I did see that.
That dude, talk about job hopping. He went from Marshall to Southern Miss to Memphis. I want to say all within the last 3 years. And now he's talking before he even coaches a game there about what his next job is going to be. This is like Connor playing college football 27.
Why am I the example?
Use the NIL money
You
and
just
leave.
told me that you left your job again.
I did break the hearts of those in Columbia, South Carolina after spending all their NIL money and then losing in the quarterfinals and leaving them for Ole Miss.
No, I mean, Memphis, that's got to be really fun to hear for the fans and the players of, yeah, it's okay. I won't be here in a couple of years anyway.
It's a Nashville connection to that, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, general manager Corey Phillips. It was a Father Ryan graduate.
Oh, wow.
Also was my football coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe we'll have to get his thoughts on Charles
world.
Huff saying that he's using Memphis as a stepping stone before he even coaches a game there.
One text away.
And Memphis for sure has been a stepping stone job. Justin Fuente went to Virginia Tech. Mike Norvell went to Florida State. Now you've got Ryan Silverfield going to Arkansas. It's been a stepping stone job to the Power 4. But to say that before you even coach a game, like, isn't that most coaches, it's you want to come in here and say, this is my dream job. Even if you don't mean it, it's like, this is where I want to be. I've got my 2 feet here and I want to build Memphis into the greatest program that it can possibly be. You may leave in 4 years if you get a better offer, and I think people would understand, but at least act like you want to be there.
Here's the bad thing is they play UNLV week 1. I have a feeling, just a gut feeling, Dan Mullen might be running up the score that week 1.
Yeah.
After hearing those comments, let me give you a little piece of humble pie because I've been at the Power 4 level and I've gone to the group of 6 level because I know I can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Here's a little humble pie week 1.
Yeah.
You know who is technically on Memphis's staff
Who's that?
as an unpaid analyst? Mr. Brian Kelly.
Really?
Really?
We were just talking about him. He's calling CBS Sports Network games.
With Doug Peterson.
Yeah. Not with Doug Peterson. I think that would be, what a booth that would be.
That would be interesting.
Cameramen, look out.
Brian Kelly on. Hopefully not too many windy games with Brian Kelly in attendance. Brian Kelly on play-by-play, Doug Peterson on color. That'd be great.
That's must-see television or must-listen-to television in that case.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Devin from Dover says nobody's dream job is Memphis. Yeah, I understand that. I said you don't have to be telling the truth. But you're taking a new job. Shouldn't you want to appeal to the fans that you're coaching for now and not just say, yeah, I'll be here for a couple of years?
Unless it's some form of like a recruiting tactic, then sure. But I don't.
What kind of recruiting tactic would that be? It's like, you want to come play for me?
I don't want to be here. You shouldn't either.
Right.
Come play for me.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if it kind of gives off the vibe of I'm a Power 4 style coach coaching in the G6.
Yeah,
maybe come here. I don't know.
I guess maybe it's like, hey, you come play for me. We can go to the Power 4 together in 2 years or something like that. But I feel like it can be used against you more of your coach doesn't even want to be there. Why would you want to play for him? Anyway, I did want to touch on UNC a little bit and the chaos going on there. They open up the season in Dublin against TCU. They just got smacked in Chapel Hill in Bill Belichick's debut last year, and more chaos around that program. We'll get back into the NFL. And again, didn't want to mention Vandy. Huge get yesterday, officially announced that Gabe Neesmith is going to be joining the team, reclassifying to play with the Commodores this year. How good can Mark Byington's squad be? We'll get into all of that here in hour number 2. 615-737-1025, our phone lines, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Talking some college football to start off hour number 2. We'll get back into the NFL shortly as, again, training camps in swing across the entire NFL. Titans start today. Mike Borgonzi, Robert Saleh going to speak at noon. Make sure you keep it tuned here throughout the day. We'll have reaction to everything the GM and the head coach say ahead of tomorrow's opening practice. But we were talking about week 0 and North Carolina opening up the season against TCU. The news yesterday, Michael Lombardi has been placed on paid administrative leave that stems from an HR complaint from a former front office employee. I talked about this with Parker yesterday, but wanted to just get your guys' thoughts on could it be more of a disaster in Chapel Hill than what it's been over the past 18 months since Bill Belichick was hired? I mean, all of the the chaos and the unnecessary attention brought by Jordan Hudson. And now you've got this with Michael Lombardi, who I believe I saw was the highest paid GM in all of college football. Like, just could not be more of a mess down there in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, just with all of the, I would say, ramifications that he set for a general manager, not allowing Patriot scouts on campus, not allowing any Patriot connections with North Carolina. To me, it screams, I don't know, security guard or just a helicopter dad or however else you want to describe it. It just is the person that always is overseeing everything. Hence, general manager. I get all that, but you've had probably one of the most winningest coaches in NFL history come to college. It's not going to translate like pro ball. And if you think you're going to implement these, I don't want to call them general manager rejects in the NFL, but I'm just going to use that term for the time being. It's not going to work like that. And I think that's something that everybody's having to learn through growing pains. And as for North Carolina, I think they just made their bed by allowing this to happen.
I said it yesterday. Mac Brown worked for what they wanted. Right. He brought in really talented players. You had Sam Howell and Drake May on those teams. Two NFL quarterbacks, one who just played in the Super Bowl and was a vote or two away from being MVP. Mac Brown worked for the short period of time you knew Mac Brown was going to be the head coach of North Carolina. And I felt like he left it in a spot where you could have gone and got an up-and-coming head coach who could have built on that momentum and got North Carolina. Again, North Carolina football, they don't care all that much. If the basketball team's playing well, the football team doesn't matter all that much. But I think they had the program in a decent spot, and you go out and basically do a publicity stunt to bring Bill Belichick there, and it's blown up in your face. I wonder how long until they just pull the plug. Like, you've got so much going on off the field. If they go out to Dublin and just get boat raced again by TCU, not saying they're going to fire Belichick after week one, but I just don't see how much longer you can live with this if you're the North Carolina athletic department.
Also, contractually, if he gets fired or let go, his son takes over. That's in the contract negotiations as well. So you're not just stuck with Bill Belichick anymore. You're stuck with his son, Steven. And you wonder, how do you get out of that? Obviously, you could just double fire them both. I mean, if that is in the contract, I don't know. But that's some way you can get out of it. I mean, this is where you really need to start fresh. And you make a great point, Jake. Like, Mac Brown did leave it in a good spot. I think a name that always comes up for me, and I wish he was in Starkville for this, but Jamie Chadwell. He always will come up in conversations, in my opinion, because he is I would say a young mind in some sense. He has a winning record, and it's a guy that has built small programs from the ground up and gotten them to, some form of dominance.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what North Carolina needs, is to gut it from the studs to the bottom and then build it back up with a coach that is proven.
Yes, I agree. I think this was a massive mistake. And, we'll see. They've completely revamped that roster again this year. Like, they turned it over completely last year, and now they've done it again. Yeah, a ton of freshmen. I think TCU is going to crush. And I don't even think TCU is that good, but I think TCU is going to crush them in Dublin.
Well, also, you got to remember, Sonny Dykes is not going to let someone walk over him like this, especially if it's Bill Belichick. Like, look, you may have been in the NFL for quite some time. This is my stomping grounds.
Well, I think you saw last year there was a little chip on their shoulder of they're going into this game and all anybody could talk about was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, it's his debut. Oh, Bill Belichick, Chapel Bill. And they scored the opening touchdown, and then TCU laid the hammer. And so I think it's going to be similar in Dublin. I was looking at ESPN's roster for TCU football. For some reason, Ken Seals is listed on TCU's football roster for ESPN. He's not on their actual roster. I was going to say Ken Seals has been playing college football since 2020. There's no way he could possibly still be on that team.
I mean, yeah, there is no way unless, he's a part of that, NIL lawsuit or whatever.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe that's what it is. I have no idea. But yeah, Ken Seals in 2020 with Vanderbilt, 65% completion percentage, 1,900 yards, 12 touchdowns, 10 picks. 6 years later, ESPN says he's on the roster. The TCU official roster does not have him listed.
I mean, they have stats for him last season with TCU. He had 33 completions on 46 attempts.
Maybe this is last year's roster.
282 yards passing. Is that right?
I mean, this is kind of a non sequitur.
But
this is kind of a non sequitur. But Did you see LSU's basketball roster?
Yeah, they have 4 players.
4 players.
Yes. What is Will Wade cooking?
He's doing something. I mean, he's trying to put together the best church league basketball team ever.
Well, yeah. No, the best professional basketball team ever.
Well, he's waiting on all these international guys to be approved, and 2 of them have been denied. So
are they waiting on like a P1 visa? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's
hockey.
I mean, that's what they do in soccer. They wait on the P1 visa so they can play.
It's like Luke Evangelista all over again.
It really is.
It's so funny when you look up LSU men's basketball roster. You know, when you look up a team's roster, like the Google AI will bring up a list of players. It's one player that's listed on the Google. It's Robert Miller III is the only player listed on the Google one. Obviously, there's 3 others on the actual roster.
Kentucky legend Mo Diabate, who was mediocre at best last year.
Yeah, Divine Ugachukwu, Abdi Bashir, Austin Nunez, and Mo Diabate. That's it listed on the roster. The coaching staff has one more person than the roster right now.
So, Amir Khan, welcome to the coaching staff.
Yeah, there you go. Or the roster. Why not?
Yeah.
Amir Khan. He might still have eligibility left. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Merle from Mount Juliet chiming in on the question of when does football season officially start? He says, any week, no matter what, is meaningful football. Even preseason football is meaningful. We get to watch football. Woohoo.
I would strongly disagree with the preseason.
Hey, I mean, I think there's a point. I wrote this down on the grid. I won't say that football season officially starts in week 2 of the preseason, but that's when I feel like it's here. Like when you get to week 2 of the preseason and you're looking ahead and you're like, man, we're within a month of week 1 of the NFL. That's when I start to feel like football season is here. When you've gone through a week of the preseason and now you're gearing up for the second one, that's when I feel like it's here, even though I won't say like, oh, it's football season. That's just when the feeling starts to come in.
That's fair. Yeah, the butterflies start, developing in the stomach a little bit. Yeah, I'm still going to have to wait until week 1. But week 0 for college football, that's definitely in the cards.
See, mine was last week. I think SEC Media Days is
really
the start
that
of
kicks it off
season.
for you.
I mean, well, it starts when the game comes out, and then you kind of get the feeling, and then SEC Media Days gets going, and we're like, we're close. Maybe I'm contradicting myself by saying week 0 isn't real football to me, but it is. So, I mean, that's kind of the start of the feeling. And then when it really kicks into full gear is week 1 of college football season.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that we're going to start to get more of the feeling being out at training camp and stuff like that and getting to be in that element. But yeah, I would say week 2 of the preseason is when I really start to feel like, all right, we're getting close. Matthew in Nashville just texted in and says Ken Seals is supposedly on the Chiefs. Let's see. Ken Seals. I mean, I can't really find anything on him except for the ESPN roster that says he's still on the maybe Wikipedia will let me know.
No, he's on the Chiefs. TCU football tweeted this out April 27th of 2026. Ken Seals is headed to Kansas City. #ProFrogs.
That's so funny. I don't know why ESPN still has him listed on it says 2026 roster. It does not say 2025.
That's crazy.
So, anyway.
Unless he just didn't sign his contract yet.
Kind of. Yeah, I don't know. Random connection there. Former Vanderbilt quarterback Ken Seals bouncing around somewhere. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. First Horizon Park. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan. Presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. The word fart gets used on Robbie and Rex Road. I guess I put it in there too. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. It's a great one.
Fired up, man. Dion with the band playing in the back.
Getting us going on this Tuesday morning. Training camp opens up today. We're going to get back into the NFL in just a couple of minutes here. But I did want to react quickly to the news yesterday. It had been rumored for the last week or so that Gabe Neesmith, the five-star recruit who was committed to Vandy, was going to reclassify, but officially announced yesterday that he is going to be joining Vanderbilt's men's hoops team in 2026. This team is looking pretty dangerous. Now, that I wouldn't put them up at the top of the SEC with a team like Florida that is returning still a decent amount of their national championship team from 2 years ago with Chinyalu and Condon's back and Haug and like that. That's a loaded team. But Vandy, I think with the return of Tyler Tanner, which was a question at one point, and now you add a really highly touted recruit in Gabe Neesmith, like this is a team that I think could be Elite Eight, contending to go to a Final Four this year if everything breaks the right way. Like there's a lot of talent up and down this roster for Mark Byington.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you from what he's built from year one up to now, this is what Vandy Athletics has been yearning for ever since let's go back to the Kevin Stallings days when they had game day here back in the mid 2010s or something like that. That's the vibe that all Vandy fans can rally around, not only for men's basketball, but another basketball team you're familiar with, and that's women's basketball. They just signed the Olympic star recently that is taking the world by storm with the announcement.
No, it is true. It's crazy to look at both football, of course, has taken a meteoric jump over the past couple of years. But you look at these two basketball programs since they made changes. Jerry Stackhouse, Stephanie White with the women's program. They bring in Shea Ralph and Mark Byington. And you look at the talent. Like Gabe Neesmith, cousin of Aaron Neesmith, who, of course, was at Vanderbilt and has played in the NBA for a long time. That is a recruit that you weren't seeing Vanderbilt get a ton. Yeah, like Stackhouse got a couple of highly rated recruits, Scottie Pippen Jr., of course, but you weren't seeing the consistent level of talent coming in to Vanderbilt men's basketball. Vandy women's basketball now has 2 5-stars on the team right now. Michaela Blakes, of course, and then Olivia Jones, who is joining as a freshman this year. Aubrey Galvin was SEC Freshman of the Year last year. You've got Jai Johnson, who was like the 35th ranked recruit in the country coming in. Like the talent level for both these programs is just, it's taken a step into a different tier of college basketball.
Is it fair to say that Vandy women's and Vandy men's basketball have a prominent guard, which would be what?
Yeah, Tyler Tanner, Michaela Blakes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
brain's not working this morning. You have two prominent guards on both respective teams that has now, I'd say, domino affected in making the roster better and also bringing in more recruits because of that.
Yeah, I would say that with Michaela, she had to commit to a program where she hadn't seen the success yet. Right. Like when Michaela committed, Vandy was coming off of a 12-win season. Now they were playing better during that next season, but she hadn't seen the physical concrete success yet. And that's a big leap for a 5-star recruit where you've got the big time programs coming after you who you do see the concrete evidence of competing for championships. And by doing that, she was able to create that success. And I think you see that with Tyler Tanner too. He was committed to Jerry Stackhouse. He could have left. He instead sticks around and they make the tournament in their first year. And now he comes back for a second year and they go to the round of 32. Now he's back for a third year and you're getting 5-star players alongside him. Same thing with both these teams of one player and the spark that they bring can really attract a whole lot of attention and get more talented players to want to play alongside them.
And to the men's point of all this, when you mentioned Tyler Tanner, him being a Nashville local, it just helps tremendously because if you go back in time and look at when Darius Garland went to Vanderbilt, sure, it was a short stint and went to the NBA after the injury, but yet a Brentwood Academy talent that, ended up saying, you know what, Vandy has had this rich basketball history. You want to bring back that memorial magic, go and get you some marquee players like that. And Tyler Tanner for sure is one of those players.
Yeah. And I saw this from Clark Lee last week, kind of in a similar vein about recruiting the Nashville area when talking about Jared Curtis. He had said, I'm trying to find the exact quote. It was basically about you have to get out of the idea of around Nashville, there was this narrative, and maybe true, maybe not, of you don't want to go play for Vanderbilt, right? Like if you're a Nashville kid, you want to go play for Ole Miss or Tennessee or Alabama. And by getting a guy like Jared Curtis, really talented local player, I think that opens up people's eyes of, I can go to Vanderbilt and I can have a lot of success. And I think you're seeing that in basketball too. Tyler Tanner being a Brentwood kid, staying with Vanderbilt and having so much success and taking this team, I think that opens the eyes of a lot of other recruits around here of, oh, it's not the same Vanderbilt that maybe I was told about growing up. This is a new look Commodores squad that I can go into and compete for championships.
Yeah, and I mean, you could go back Davis went to Overton High School here. I mean, that's one of the prominent running backs in this state, and obviously went to play at the University of Tennessee, but a local product. It's kind of the same vein, and like you mentioned with Jared Curtis, they're the local products. I mean, you could say Steve McAdoo. I mean, you could say Johnny Hibbett. I mean, these are all local products that, grew up here in the market. Joe Campbell, somebody we just had on recently from Stratford. I mean, these are all players that were really good at their level, especially being in the national market. And also, too, like, we brought up Brentwood Academy previously. Like, if you go back, let's say 5-ish years, maybe 4, I mean, Gavin Schoenwald, Cam Johnson, both Brentwood Academy standouts for football and basketball, but they played football at Vanderbilt. It just goes to show you there is a top quality talent in the Nashville market. And sometimes I feel like it gets overlooked because of, everybody wants to be that national, darling. They want to make sure they get the marquee names elsewhere outside the market. Yeah, there's a lot of talent here still.
Yes. And I think you're seeing the talent grow even more. You got more people moving to the area. You're seeing more talent across all of sports. And Vanderbilt being able to recruit in its own backyard is really, really important. And I think you've seen one like big name recruit for all of these programs can spark it. Again, I go back to my open that you hear every hour. If Jared's going to go to Vanderbilt, maybe I'm going to go to Vanderbilt too. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the idea with all of these programs is Jared Curtis is the 5-star. He's going to attract more talent. Tyler Tanner, with what he's accomplished as an All-American, is going to attract more talent. Michaela Blake's being the first 5-star to commit to Shea Ralph has attracted more of them. Like, I think that's what it is. Sometimes you just need one domino to fall and it attracts everybody else, especially in this area.
Yeah, just imagine if Jared Curtis has let's say just obviously a record year because it's his freshman year. Imagine if he has one of those concrete years of saying, look, 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns. Again, those are high marks, but
right.
Imagine what that does for recruiting in the Nashville market.
No, and I see what you're saying there of like Michaela, what she did as a freshman. I think that was like, oh, not only was she a 5-star, she might be one of the best players in the country, and transfers want to come play with a player like that.
Yeah.
And with Jared Curtis, you're right. Like if he comes in and takes, I don't want to get like too far over our skis here. Like takes the league by storm wouldn't be a right at. But let's say Vandy goes 8-4 and Jared Curtis looks like a possible Heisman contender next year. That's going to be, oh man, I want to go play with that guy. So you're right. It's like part of it is the recruiting, but it's also, can they go show what they can do? And you see that concrete evidence of it.
Yeah. And plus this year, and I even asked this to Mitch Light last Friday when we had him on DVD in the afternoon, or last Thursday, excuse me, about having 2 guys in the backfield, Cedric Alexander and MK Young. Like to me, as a young quarterback for Jared Curtis, that's huge. And it allows you to use them as a crutch, but also you can find somebody downfield. And if that does take place, you could possibly rekindle something that you built with Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers, finding something over the middle like that, just as up the seam. I think that's something that Vandy fans are, getting ready for again, if Curtis has a big year.
Yes, for sure. And I think they've given him good infrastructure around him. The offensive line, we're going to have to see how it all gels. A lot of new additions there. But with the weapons, you've still got Junior Sherrill, you've got Cole Spence, and you mentioned the running back room. I think it's going to be huge. But the big news yesterday for Vanderbilt men's basketball, Gabe Neesmith 5-star recruit, was committed to Vanderbilt for the class of 2027. He has reclassified. He's going to join the team this year, joining Tyler Tanner. You've got Chandler Bing coming back. You've got transfers like Ace Glass, T.O. Barrett, Ben Deck, freshman Ant Brown. Like, this is a team that I think they're going to be very competitive this year towards the top of the SEC. They played for an SEC championship last year. Now, tournament play is a little bit different, but I think this is a team that's going to be in that 2, 3, 4 seed range. I won't go 1 seed, but I think they're going to be a team that's going to have a path to get to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and maybe even beyond if they get hot at the right time.
Yeah, especially, that last second shot that, Tyler Tanner almost dropped.
Yeah, they were a couple inches away from being in the Sweet 16 last year.
Imagine if you have a guy like Neesmith on your team that allows you to just collect more points in the paint or just more points in general. That could be the deciding factor of going on to the next round.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will wrap up the second hour after this. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, finishing up the second hour. Dr. Crane and I just watched the Titans brass did the ice bucket challenge. I don't know if you saw this, Connor.
I watched that on the break.
Yeah, Amy Adams Strunk leading the way along with Kenneth Adams. They've got Robert Saleh, Mike Borgonzi, Burke Nihill. So all the big dogs in the Titans organization doing the ice bucket challenge, challenging the rest of the NFL.
Borgonzi looks unnatural in shorts and t-shirt.
I know. Yeah, it did look funny. I almost didn't recognize him at first.
It's the nose. That's what gave it away for me.
Amy, the people in charge of her ice bucket, direct hit.
There was some force behind that.
No, yeah, that one, like some of the other ones, I think they dodged a decent amount of the flow, but like that one got her straight on the top of the head.
Are we sure there was actually ice in there?
That's what we were just saying. It might have just been water. But I'm looking at the replay. No, there was no ice in there. It might have just been cold water.
I mean, they got some ice water over there at their facility. I mean, it's pretty cold.
But cool to see, especially with Chris Johnson and his diagnosis. The Titans have kind of been at the forefront of this summer's ALS research and awareness. So good to see the Titans organization stepping up and, of course, inducting Chris Johnson into the Ring of Honor in Week 1 against the Jets. We're going to get back into the Titans in the final hour specifically, but I did want to touch on some other headlines around the NFL. Vita Vea requesting a trade from Tampa Bay yesterday. Interesting timing there heading into training camp. Now, I have seen Titans fans, because this is what Titans fans do, and I'm sure every fan base does it, of anytime any player is available, they want them on their team. I don't view that as a realistic target for the Titans. First off, I don't think Vita Vea wants to come to Nashville. I believe I saw that he wants to go to the West Coast or Vegas. That was his preference, was to go to California or Vegas or Seattle or something like that. Also, does his position fit what Robert Saleh wants to do? I know you make it work for great players, but you've loaded up on that defensive line already this offseason. That's the one position group that you've really reinforced. You'd have to give up a decent amount of draft capital to go get Vita Vea, and he'd be kind of a square peg in a round hole for you.
He would. You mentioned the West Coast. One team that comes to mind would be the Rams, because of Aaron. I know that sounds crazy, but listen here. Like, if from the articles I've read about, the whole, if Aaron Donald comes back, there's going to be a timeline. If he does, if he doesn't, then that'd be a good replacement.
No,
you get where I'm coming at?
Yeah, 100%. Like that actually is a team that would make a whole lot of sense, and they don't care about draft capital right now, right? Like, why not pair Vita Vea with Myles Garrett on your defensive front to just continue to add to that loaded roster? Elsewhere up there on the West Coast, like, I don't know about San Francisco. Like, maybe that would make more sense.
San Francisco has that 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're a go for it, but they are getting to that point, like we talked about earlier when we were talking about the joint practices, of like Kittle's getting up there in age, McCaffrey's getting older, Fred Warner's still like 28 years old, which is crazy.
Let's not forget Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, you just signed. You've got Nick Bosa, who's dealt with a lot of injuries. Like, are you maybe one piece away from being in that conversation with Seattle and kind of that next group of teams behind the Rams, who are the clear favorite in the NFC?
I mean, yeah, it's just wild to think that there are teams in the West Coast, like, well, maybe the Chargers,
right? Are the Chargers a team that feels like they're a piece away from being the favorite in the AFC, right? Like the AFC is kind of jumbled right now towards the top. Are the Chiefs going to bounce back this year? What do the Bills look like this season? So maybe that would make sense. But yeah, I don't hear, I'm going to say 5% chance at best.
For him to get traded somewhere, or just
to here?
Oh yeah. No, 0.
Lower than that.
5 might be too high. Yeah.
Maybe 1.
We'll go 2.
We ranted about this last night. It doesn't make sense. You already have 2 players at a premium in that position.
Right.
And I understand, like, kind of like what you said, you make it work with a player of that caliber, but you've got the best defensive tackle in football in my mind, and Jeffrey Simmons, and then you have that complemented with John Franklin Myers. Why would you give up draft capital to fill other positions of need up for a position you already have clogged up.
Yeah, unless you want to flip Vita Vea around and have him play right guard for you. I'm going to say probably not.
And let's not forget, I mentioned this to Connor as well, Jackie Marshall. I will continue beating the drum for this
It's his guy, man.
A 6th round pick out of Baylor that on paper has the same stature as Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, he's just, again, I'm not saying he's Jeffrey Simmons. I'm not saying that at all.
No, I know.
I'm just saying in general, you have a young rookie that you're trying to groom to be one of the best rotational defensive tackles with a really good lineup you have already. I think that's a huge piece that people keep forgetting about.
I like Jackie Marshall as a rotational guy.
Yeah, that's all you need him to be.
Rush the passer from the interior. And there are a lot of reasons that would dissuade the Titans from trading for Vita Vea. I don't think Jackie Marshall is one of them.
No, that's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying in general, there's no need to bring in a guy like Vita Vea because you already have enough on the roster. You've brought in John Franklin Myers. You brought in Jermaine Johnson. You have Jeffrey Simmons. You drafted Keldrick Falk. Like, you have all these guys. I get that.
No, I get what you're saying. The entirety of the depth on the defensive line is a reason not to draft him.
Yeah,
it's his guy, man. He loves him some Jackie Marshall.
I'm just imagining the Colin Cowherd, like Ben Simmons, LeBron James thing where it's like,
we're good.
Vita, we're good.
Yeah,
Jackie Marshall's
here.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good.
Hey, just wait. When this guy ends up coming, probably one of the, I'm not saying the best, but one of the better rotational players on this defense, we'll come back.
All right, we will make sure to remember that Nick Frazier you've said it before, but we're going to say July 28th, ahead of his rookie season, has planted his flag in Jackie Marshall.
He's already building the statue outside of new Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, there you go.
What was it Sikkim Bears, right?
Sikkim.
There you go.
Sikkim.
Yeah.
Last thing here before we get back to the Titans in the AFC South. Did you see Jacoby Brissett, his press conference yesterday?
No.
So he's finally back with the team. They renegotiated his deal and thought it was a great question from one of the reporters there are some people saying that you shouldn't be holding out for more money when you went 1-11 as a starter last year on a team that wasn't very good. What would you have to say to them? And he was like, couldn't care less. We got a deal. We got a deal done. I'm like, I get it. You got to maximize your value. And I'm not trying to say he shouldn't maximize his value, but holding out just because you're the starter on a team that barely added anything at quarterback, I think it makes you look bad. And I wish the Cardinals would have just said, fine, don't show up. We'll start Gardner Minshew. Yeah, you might be better than Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew can go 1-11 this year. That's what you did last year. I don't know why the Cardinals entertained it. And it's a 1-year deal. It's not like they locked Jacoby Brissett down for the long term, but I would have called his bluff and said, fine, don't show up. Gardner Minshew, you're our starting quarterback now. It's not that big of a downgrade.
Just wait for week 6 or week 7 when we see Carson Beckett in there for a few snaps.
Right.
It's going to happen. I mean, the Cardinals are just such a dumpster fire right now. Yes, they go and draft Jeremiah Love. Fantastic.
They've got good pieces.
Yeah, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Michael Wilson.
Let the Ferrari out of the garage and let him go out, or Maserati Marv. Let the Maserati out of the garage and allow him to go full 90 miles per hour down the road. That's what you need.
The Cardinals are an intriguing team that's going to be bad this year. Like, I think there's a difference between the Dolphins are a team that's going to suck, and I don't really see a whole lot of reason to watch them. Devon Achane, maybe he's on your fantasy team or something like that. But outside of that, the Dolphins are going to be bad, and I don't really see a whole lot of value in watching that team play. The Cardinals, I think, are going to be bad, but you got Trey McBride, 99 overall in Madden, by the way. You've got Jeremiah Love. You've got Maserati Marv. Michael Wilson played really well down the stretch for that team. So there's reasons, but the quarterback's not one of them. And that's why I was so confused when he was holding out. I'm like, it's not like you turn things around after they bench Kyler Murray. It's not like they were like, oh, Jacoby Brissett, man, he could be the future here. You went 1-11. I don't think you should be holding out, but they got a deal done. It's in the past now. We'll see what happens moving forward. I do agree with you. I think Carson Beck is going to be the quarterback by, let's say, mid-November. I think they're going to go with the young guy at some point.
Yeah, and there's a reason why there's some fantasy owners out there that go draft Carson Beck, put him on a taxi squad, make sure he stays there for a little bit, has a cup of coffee, maybe 2. Then
I wouldn't do that, but you do you, man.
I mean, as a 5th-round pick in Dynasty, why not?
Hey, I guess that's true if you're only drafting rookies.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't do the dynasty leagues. I never have.
They're fun.
I feel like that's just too much.
I don't have time to keep up with it.
Right. And it's just like
level 0 to winning the league is the most satisfying feeling
I'm
in
sure.
a all rookies draft.
I'm sure. Like, I'm sure there is more gratification because, like, year over year, you're building a roster instead of just redrafting every single year. But, like, I don't have enough time to deal with that.
If you need a scout for fantasy football for running backs, I'm your guy.
There you go.
Drafted A-Chain and Chase Brown.
Wow.
So 3rd round and 4th round, we're feeling
We
it.
got a genius over here.
Where does Jackie Marshall rank
Yeah.
on the Nick Frazier defensive
Do you have-
tackle watch
Look,
list?
If he's getting drafted 6th round in the NFL, obviously you don't pick defensive players in fantasy, but if that was the case, he'd be a sleeper. He'd be a sleeper.
He'd be on your sleeper
Can't.
list.
I've done leagues where you pick defensive players before.
Well, yeah, I've never done that.
You take a tackle, an edge, a linebacker, and a corner.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been a part of that.
I think I did that one time in college and I didn't like it. It just felt unnecessary.
We just do
Yeah.
a super flex where you add a second quarterback.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Interesting. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We got one more hour left with you on this Tuesday. Full NFL the rest of the way. Daniel Jones cleared to practice. What does the AFC South look like this year if the Colts get a fully healthy Daniel Jones? Because they were rolling before he got hurt last year. And again, Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh going to speak to the media in just about an hour as training camp kicks off today. What questions would you want to be asked to Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh? We'll get into that later on in this final hour as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Tuesday. Next man up, 102.5. The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans training camp opens up today. In a little under an hour, we will hear from Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh. Make sure you keep it tuned right here throughout the day for reaction to what the GM and head coach had to say. We're going to talk about some of the big questions that should be asked heading into training camp. Quickly, before we get into the AFC South, I didn't listen far enough into Chasing Big Joe yesterday. Did Big Joe talk about what's going to happen with his question?
No. So I actually gave the suggestion to whoever is going to be there from our station to maybe ask the question for him.
That is true. Maybe somebody will step up and do Big Joe's dirty work.
Let me get Parker Kelly on the horn right now.
Yeah, we
He's
might
out
have to
there.
do that.
He better ask the question. If he doesn't, then
Can this team you're putting out there tomorrow win the Super Bowl? See, I feel like Parker's young enough and like new enough to this though that I don't know if I'd want to do that. Like,
I think it's the perfect opportunity though for a guy.
He would lose so much reputation.
Right? It's like you're trying to make good impressions
Yeah,
on these people, whether it's the reporters around you or the PR staff or the coaches and GMs. It's like you don't want to be like with Big Joe. He's got enough
cachet,
right? Like he's been around for so long that
it's media darling.
Like I think Paul Kaharski could ask that question.
Paul does those challenging questions.
Paul could ask that question, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye. I don't know if Parker could.
I mean, let's be fair. Parker, he's a bold man.
It wouldn't sound like a challenging question from him. It would just sound like cluelessness.
Right. Yeah. I think it's like when you have a reputation, it's like people know where it's coming from. With Parker, like if I went out there, like Mike Borgonzi wouldn't know who I am. And it's like when you hear that question, you're like, what is this guy talking about?
But I think that's the beauty because you're not necessarily. I mean, no discredit to Parker because he is building a name for himself and credibility.
Right.
But I don't think there's enough cachet around his name for them to truly remember the person that's going to ask that question. It might be the curveball that everybody's been hoping for. I don't know. But
right.
I think that'd be a good opportunity.
He should ask it. I hope Mike Borgonzi goes, aren't you that fourth line center for San Jose?
Yeah, that's great.
See, like, yeah, it's nothing against Parker. It's just like when you haven't been around the team for that long. And again, like Big Joe's been covering the team forever. I think he knows he can ask that question and no one's going to care. And it'll be funny. I wonder in your second season covering the team, can you get away with that? We'll see. Maybe Parker will let it fly.
Hey, in my, I think second season covering NSC, I asked Gary Smith, did you lose the locker room? And I mean,
hey,
it was bold.
I guess you gotta jump into the fire at some point.
Yeah.
So who knows? I guess we'll find out in about an hour whether someone wants to know whether the team they put on the field tomorrow can win the Super Bowl.
I think there's a difference between have you lost the locker room and can your team win the Super Bowl
on the first day of training camp.
On the first day.
That's fair.
That's why it was so funny from Big Joe last year. Like
seeing Brinker chuckle and then
I know
Borgonzi just death staring.
Borgonzi. I thought Borgonzi, I mean, the way he answered it, I think was about as honest as you could be without flat out saying no.
Yeah. I mean, if Joe was there to say his question, I think at that point you're probably I'd see Borgonzi just look at him and it'd just be a new thing for Saleh. You know, I'm just like, oh, so this is that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what would be processing in my brain if I were Saleh.
Well, since we're on this, let's dive into this. What do you want to hear from these guys today? It's the opening day of training camp. I want to say, like, Borgonzi probably not going to speak all that much after this, gearing up into the season. Like, I'm sure we'll hear from him more than Rand Carthon, right, who basically just went into hiding after the offseason ended. But might be the last time you get to hear from Mike Borgonzi until, would trade deadline be fair?
Yeah, I would say so.
You know what? He's going to do the preseason interview during one of the games that the GM always does. So you'll hear from there. But like in terms of a press conference, open questions from the media, this might be your last chance till maybe the trade deadline. What do you want to hear from Borgonzi? What questions do you think need to be asked of the GM as he wraps up this offseason?
If there are any, moves to the roster you're going to make before the season begins? I mean, something along those lines.
Yeah, I could. I think that's a good question.
Kind of back to what we talked about, Will Levis, maybe.
Right.
I mean, the 3 quarterback situation. Are there going to be 3 quarterbacks on this roster?
Right.
Or not?
Do you think that the roster you have now, and I'm sure he'd answer it with like, there's always going to be shuffling, but do you think there are free agents out there that could help your team right now? Something like that. There was a question with, so 3337 sent this in earlier, and I wanted to save it. Yes, I wish someone would ask Borgonzi why he intentionally neglected the center and right guard and swing tackles. We had plenty of cash, and you know that they know better. Just stinks starting off with a decent left tackle, a good left guard, and question marks. Seriously, how much better would y'all feel about this season if we had gotten a real center and at least a good veteran Dan Moore type guard? So 3337 sends that in, and that's kind of where I was going to go. Maybe not in exactly those words of why did you neglect the offensive line? I'll go to the other side. Why do you think the offensive line that you have right now will be successful this year? Because, again, they didn't upgrade. They went out and they brought in service replacement level players and some late round draft picks. Why do you think the offensive line you constructed this offseason is going to succeed? And I'd love to hear the answer on that.
Yeah, hands down, because you go and draft interior offensive lineman in Pat Coogan for Fernando Carmona as a guard, and you wonder the depth at the tackle positions are still what they were last year. I mean, it's a great point, Jake.
Right. I just think, yes, you can ask the question of, like, why did you not address the offensive line more? And I think that opens up to more coach speak of, oh, well, we really like what Austin Schlottman brings in, and we brought in some guys we felt like really fell in the draft to us and we think are value picks. But asking why he thinks this group is going to be successful, I'd love to know what they saw in Schlottman and Volson, and do they believe in Jackson Slater to develop? Why does he think this group, as currently constructed, can be successful this year? I don't know what the answer would be, and I think that would be the right way to frame it in terms of why Mike Borgonzi didn't do more on the offensive line this offseason.
Yeah, and I would follow that up with what's the long-term vision at left tackle, because you have the option to, opt out of the Dan Moore Jr. contract, and that was one of Borgonzi's first signings. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, no, that is true. I think it was his first big signing.
Yeah,
I remember we were gearing up right as the legal tampering period opened up, and that was one of the first big moves that came down. I don't know if he'd answer that right now, right? Like, I think they're focused on this season. So if you asked him what's the long-term plan at left tackle, he might kind of brush that off and say, Dan Moore's our left tackle for this year.
Sure.
We'll worry about that down the road. But the offensive line is clearly the one thing that's burned in everybody's mind of, this doesn't look good on paper. Like, if you're looking at this team getting better, there's a lot of reasons for hope. You got a second-year quarterback with a more experienced offensive coordinator leading him. You've given him weapons with the 4th overall pick in the draft and a pretty high-dollar slot wide receiver. You've brought in a ton of veteran additions on defense. Like, there's a lot of reasons to think this team is going to be better this year. The one thing that you'd point to as why this team could be the same or worse is the offensive line just doesn't look good on paper. So I think that needs to be a question asked to Mike Borgonzi before we kind of go to the point where we're speaking with Saleh specifically and not Borgonzi, because yes, they work in tandem, but it's up to Borgonzi to build a roster into a spot where they feel like they can be successful. And I think the offensive line is the one glaring hole that he left.
Yeah. And I'd say the secondary is, like what traits do you see in this specific secondary pieces you've brought in this past offseason are what curate to Robert Saleh's defense? That's what I'd be worried about.
I would ask about Alontae Taylor. What part of his game makes you think that he can truly be a one and play in the outside? Because you and I talked about this last night, and that Alontae Taylor is new to the position. He's always been a nickel in the Saints defense. So what about his game, A, made you pay him like a number one, and B, makes you kick him out to the outside?
That's a good question as well. And I think that's something that we've all thought about too, of Taylor has been a nickel guy, but Robert Saleh has said, I believe he did a sit down with Taylor Zarzer for like the official Titans podcast, and said he has to learn from being primarily inside, but sometimes playing outside, to the flip where he's going to play outside and sometimes bump inside. So I do like that question from Connor of what makes you think he has that versatility to play at both different spots. With Borgonzi, I don't know if this one would be as geared at him. And maybe we can do this on the other side. But the Cam Ward side of this, of course, is going to be the big story of training camp and through the season. We can talk about maybe what we want to hear from Mike Borgonzi and did it again. Robert Saleh about what they're going to see from Cam Ward in year 2. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. What do you want to hear from Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh today as they start off training camp? Press conference coming up at noon. What are some questions that you think need to be asked as we head towards the new season? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Gearing up for Titans training camp. First practice is under 24 hours away. And again, we'll hear from Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh coming up at the top of the hour. We're taking your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Call or text at 615-737-1025. We want to know, what do you want asked to Mike Borgonzi specifically, and Robert Saleh as well at this press conference today? I mentioned the question, why do you believe the offensive line you have constructed will be successful in 2026? The big question about Cam Ward, I mean, I feel like a lot of the Cam Ward questions have been asked ad nauseum. It's like there's only so much you can ask about the progress of the young quarterback. But the one that I thought of that I think you might get a decent answer on is, like, throughout training camp specifically, what benchmarks are you looking for from Cam Ward as he gears up for season number 2? Like, kind of very micro analysis of what do you want to see Cam Ward as he settles into a new offense with new weapons? What are some specific benchmarks, specific notes that you're looking for him to improve upon throughout training camp? I feel like you might get an insightful answer either from Borgonzi or Saleh today at the press conference.
Yeah, definitely something on the terms of leadership. I think would be a good, question to piggyback off of for a guy like Cam Ward. Obviously, the real answer, the real question for me would be the footwork, because that was the big topic of conversation last year. Yeah, so I mean that they'd probably delegate that question to more of Brian Daboll when he's able to answer. You know what I mean? Again, going back to the conversation we had the first hour of, one's an offensive head coach, the other one's a defensive head coach. They're just two head coaches in their respective right.
No, I think you're right too. Of Saleh may not be able to give you specific, like, mechanical, fundamental, and I'm sure he knows what Cam Ward's working on. But with Brian Daboll, it's like you ask him a question like that, and I think off the top of his head, he'd be able to say, well, specifically, here's what we think he needs to get better at. Robert Saleh may just be able to give you the Sparks Notes version. But and there may not be like concrete evidence of improvement from Cam Ward throughout training camp, more than it is just the eye test of watching him playing faster, being more comfortable in this system. And maybe that's the answer. It's like, we just want him to be more comfortable every single day as he gets ready for the year. But I would like to know what specifically they're looking for from their young quarterback over the next 6 weeks as he gets ready for the season.
Yeah, and as well, like, going back to, I guess you would call it his mission statements from being fast and violent on the field.
Yeah.
I would think a good time to follow up would be right now about that. Like, out of the 5 to 6 months you've been with the team so far, like, how has that gone? How has the fast and violent narrative gone for you as the head coach?
Yeah, I guess maybe, like, how do you see that on a day-to-day basis from your team, especially when you're not wearing pads? Like, the violence has to be toned down a little bit too. Like, how do you build that when you aren't hitting somebody else? You're not playing another team every single day. How do you build that fast and violent, all gas, no brakes kind of mentality when you're not playing actual football at this point?
I think it'd be also to a respectful question to ask about, having 2 first-round draft picks, one of them being an offensive player, one being a defensive player, and that being Keldrick Falk. I mean, he's been known as that bull rusher type, defensive player at Auburn. How has he evolved in being a more complete edge rusher now as a rookie with the Titans?
Yeah, no, that is true. And maybe just how they envision using all of these pieces along the defensive front. I'm sure, I believe Robert Saleh's kind of answered that at times, but I think that's a question we all have of how do you rotate these guys at the level that you want to, where they're only playing maximum 65% of the snaps while still getting a similar caliber of play on the field, even if Jeffrey Simmons isn't out there or John Franklin Myers isn't out there. How are you able to get that same result, even if you're not seeing Jeffrey Simmons on the field for 80% of the snaps like he was last year?
Yeah, and I think another one too, you get a differing answer, I think, between Saleh and Borgonzi with this, and that's Femi Oladejo, like the future of what may go with him. Because, again, this is a player that has not got much practice time for the most part because of that nagging injury in the spring. It was one of Borgonzi's draft picks. How does he view him as a player on this roster, along for Saleh, because it's a clean slate to evaluate him?
That is a great one there that I think probably should be asked. Injuries in general, I'm sure there's going to be a question about J.C. Latham, Amani Hooker starting to see the training camp on the PUP list. I think it'll probably be short term. They're going to be back soon. Just trying to not rush them back into things as they get healthy. But yeah, the Femi Oladejo question is interesting because he did miss some valuable reps during the offseason program. He's heading into a crucial year too after only playing 6 games as a rookie. I would love to hear both of their answers, Borgonzi and Saleh, on what their thoughts are on Femi as he heads into his second season.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's fallen down the depth chart, obviously, with the first-round draft pick and Keldrick Falk. That obviously leapfrogs him into that because it's just the health purposes. You wonder if drafting Keldrick Falk in the first round is to Band-Aid that draft pick from a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
Obviously being a highly touted, second round draft pick that transitioned from a linebacker to an edge rusher. You wonder if that is something to take hold of it, but it's just interesting. It's interesting to see how he can develop.
Yeah, Salah's been adamant that they were scouting Femi as a 4-3 defensive end when they were in San Francisco. So it's something that they believe that he can do, even though it's a different position than what he's played in the past. But putting his hand in the dirt, can he be a productive player this year? Productive doesn't mean 10 sacks, but can he be a player that you can count on to be part of this rotation? I think that's the big thing for Femi Oladejo. Doesn't have to be a superstar. You'd like to see him be more than a 4 or 5 sack player at some point during his rookie contract. But if he's a 4 or 5 sack player this year, I think that's a huge step in the right direction for Femi.
Oh yeah. It's just it's a small sample size and a good baseline to build off of for sure.
I did want to mention too, the Titans did make a roster move yesterday. Nazeeh Johnson, I want to say that's the correct pronunciation, but apologies if it's not, has been signed. Former Chiefs cornerback, was drafted while Mike Borgonzi was with Kansas City. He was a 7th round pick in 2022. He's made 6 starts in 29 career games. They cut Latrell McCutcheon, the undrafted free agent out of Houston. So that's a little more depth on the cornerback side. At least you're bringing in somebody who's played at the NFL level.
He's a special teams guy for sure.
Special teamer, but can be if he makes the team, he's your cornerback, 5, 6?
Well, that was the point of signing him, because I talked to TD about this on Friday when he was added to the roster. He's a special teams specialist, for lack of a better term.
Right.
I think he had 66 tackles, but, he's a huge contributor, won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. So.
Right. And you needed that at the back end, because you're looking at the cornerback room. You got Taylor, you got Flott, Joshua Williams, Marcus Harris, and Micah Robinson. Beyond that, you were kind of relying on some of these undrafted rookies to make an impact. Keedrain Callaghan and Latrell McCutcheon, who a lot of people I know were high on when he was drafted. I had seen a couple of things that he might have been one of the better gets the Titans made. Well, he doesn't even make it to training camp, but you add a cornerback 6 who you can put in that room, be a good special teamer, and you, at least if you deal with injuries like you did last year, which, knock on wood, you don't, it's at least you're not throwing a rookie undrafted guy out there into the fire. You're throwing out somebody who has at least made starts at the NFL level before.
Contributions in some aspects. Yeah. I mean, like Connor said, he's definitely a special teams guy, 286 special team snaps and 29 regular season games. He had, like Connor was saying, 66 tackles. So, I mean, he definitely is one of those guys you can rely on. Kind of, we were talking earlier with Darren Bates. That's a guy that has made a name for himself in the special teams market.
Well, we have good news here from Paul Kuharski 1 minute ago. Amani Hooker coming off the PUP list. Short stint for Amani on the PUP list.
Wonderful. I mean, already positive vibes.
Well, let's hope it's not too much further behind for JC Latham.
I'm with you, Jake, on JC Latham. I'm not overly concerned. I mean, there's a bit of concern there, but I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 3. But I talked about this last night. If he's going to come back, I want the JC Latham that I was supposed to see in his first start, or even last year. Yeah. I need a Peter Skoronski-esque development from him.
Yep, agreed. So good news there. Amani Hooker started on the PUP list before they even reported. Now he is back, and I guess should be on the field tomorrow for practice. JC Latham now the only player left on that physically unable to perform list. We'll see. I mean, again, you don't know. They're dealing with different injuries, but Paul Kuharski did say both of them were labeled as short-term. Short-term can have different tiers, but you would hope that JC Latham may be back by next week at the very latest. That would be the hope.
I go back to that article Jim White put out, and I think he quoted Robert Saleh about just how these 40 days are crucial for players to kind of really absorb everything, for the fact that, in those 40 days, Latham is not really healthy per se.
Yeah.
Going back from spring up to now, it's a detriment a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure, with the offensive line, especially at that right tackle position. And even like we were talking earlier with Femi Oladejo, again, a guy that was somewhat injured in the spring as well. You can't have your young guys that are hurt not be a part of this core, because that's what causes you to have to go back to the well in the draft.
Yeah, I want JC Latham on the field by the time the pads come on.
Yeah.
You can miss a couple unpadded practices. Yeah, you want as many reps as possible for him, but by the time the pads come on, I want JC Latham on the field.
It's like you guys at 3, a 4. I'm at a 6 for concern. I really am. And I know that's probably a little over the top, but 6 is, I think, respectable because, again, this guy has tried to clean his diet out. He's tried to get back to his old form. He's had that nagging hip injury.
Yeah.
And last year when he had 13 starts, so he played in 13 games, he had 8 sacks. So I don't know. Not positive for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that concerns me the most about JC Latham was the stories of like Jeffrey Simmons having to get after him because he wasn't giving it his all in practice last year. Like that concerns me more than the injuries. Like we need to see, yes, a physically healthy JC Latham, but I want to see a mentally locked in JC Latham heading into year 3 that knows this is a make or break year for him.
It's all self-inflicted for him. The penalties, the holdings, not getting his feet set, it's all self-inflicted for him. So if he can get his mental makeup right, then I think physically he'll be able to hold his own. But right now, I'm not impressed. I'm not going to say he's a bust, but this is a big year for him. Why? Because you have that 5th-year option. So he's got to take a jump this year.
And that's the thing that's confusing too, is like you go back to the first year he was with the Titans, and I mentioned this with Connor last night. The guy was running wind sprints in the thunderstorms. Like, talk about mental strength.
Right.
There was something different about JC Latham in the rookie year.
No, that is true. It's like all we heard was this guy, all he wants to do is work and all he wants to do is be great. And it felt like maybe that injury just like was a tough mental block for him was gearing up for the season. He had done all the work on his body in the offseason, and then week 1, boom, you're out for a month and a half. That can be a tough hurdle to get over. Let's hope he's past it. And when he gets back on the field healthy, that he's locked in and ready to roll.
You hope so, because you look at Peter Skronsky in that appendectomy, the guy lost 20 pounds or something like that, came back, was still serviceable.
Yeah.
He just had to get his feet back under him. As for JC Latham with a little bit of a nagging, the hip injury, hasn't gotten back to that.
Yeah.
That's what makes Peter Skronsky better than a guy like JC Latham.
Right. And
mentally he's stronger.
That's what
it seems like.
Connor said too, was he wants to see that Skronsky jump. I think that's we've seen. Now, Skronsky was probably a little better in year 2 than Latham was in year 2.
Sure.
But it was a kind of slow development from a guy that you wanted to see jump in and immediately be a Pro Bowl level player. Latham needs to have that same type of development, that same type of growth this year.
100%. You have to. If you don't, then you're going back to the draft.
Before we wrap up this segment, I did just see another tweet come across. Teresa Walker put this out from the AP, reporting for her 30th and last Titans training camp as a full-time sports writer for the AP. Says she's retiring later this year, but will be finishing the season covering the Titans. So congratulations to Teresa Walker, an absolute legend here in Nashville.
We love Teresa.
Yes. I interact with her a decent amount when she's out covering Vandy games, and she's the best. Best. So congratulations to Teresa on her 30th training camp and her last season covering the Titans.
Good for you, Teresa. Congratulations. I met her a few times over at Geodis Park, but we just had short interactions. Congratulations.
Yeah. And, Vrabel always used to give her the first question. We'll see. Maybe she gets the first one today over at the press conference coming up in about 30 minutes. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got 2 more segments left with you on this Tuesday. We'll keep talking football when we come back. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final 30 minutes on this Tuesday. Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh going to speak at the top of the hour. And again, keep it tuned right here for all the reaction once they are off the podium there. Chasing Big Joe coming up at noon. DVD with Willie Donick and Derek Mason at 3. I did want to get into this kind of a broader NFL topic into the AFC South here. Daniel Jones cleared to practice for the Colts. With a healthy Daniel Jones, how do you stack up the AFC South? Because I don't know if there's any team that I fully believe in the South, but I think there's reasons for optimism for all of them. The Titans I'm going to separate here because they're just in a different spot than those other 3 teams. Even if they finish last in the division, but they win 6 or 7 games, that's a step forward. The other 3, it's like, I don't really know how to separate them because there are some things they do well, other things that are bigger question marks heading into the season.
I mean, we could all, clarify those question marks on each team that would kind of help dictate a lot of things. But I think I'll start with Houston. And I think Houston to me is the favorite to win the AFC South.
I would agree.
It's just the big question mark of the offensive line. And if CJ Stroud can kind of overcome that.
Yeah.
And if he can, they're a team you cannot stop. You seriously, and the team that's underneath them, I would go Indianapolis. If Daniel Jones is healthy, Indianapolis is number 2. As for the Titans in this case, I don't know where to put them.
Yeah. The AFC South is always just so weird. It's a weird division. The Colts were rolling with a healthy Daniel Jones, and not even just before he tore his Achilles, but before he had, the fracture in his shin. Before that, they were 8-2. They were rolling with a healthy Daniel Jones. There's still a lot of talent on that team. I wouldn't put it past him to be a playoff team this year. And you're right. I'm picking Houston to win the division solely because that defense is loaded. And I think there are going to be a lot of games where the defense can basically win it all on their own if you just get any kind of production from the offense. But they are just one of those teams that they could be in the Super Bowl if CJ Stroud is close to what he was as a rookie, because the defense has gotten that much better. If CJ Stroud can get back to being a top 12 quarterback in the NFL, that's a team that can go win the Super Bowl. But that is a big question mark. And you mentioned the offensive line. They've just been rotating guys in and out there because they can't find solutions. That might be a team that wins a lot of games like 13-10 this year, where the defense is that good, but the offense just can't get things together.
Well, I think that's why they went out onto the market and grabbed David Montgomery, because regardless of the offensive line, that guy's going to get you 5 to 6 yards. I mean, he's just that heavy bell cow that is always a red zone threat. But at the same time, if you need him to get you those 3 to 4 yards in your own 30, 35 yard line, he's going to grab them. And then you're going to get more in that short yardage game plan. If you can get like a quick rub route on the outside to, I don't know, Jalen Noel or even a Jaden Higgins. Or,
yeah.
I mean, let's not forget Nico Collins.
Yeah.
But looking at Houston offensively, I think they have doubled down on Jaden Higgins as a young player. Obviously, they signed him to that guaranteed contract.
Yep.
One of the second-round picks there. But he, I think, is a player to watch out for this upcoming season, regardless of the offensive line struggles.
The Texans have talent on that team. They do. On offense, I should say.
Right.
The defense is disgusting in a good way. Like nasty defense that you don't want to face. And I think that defense is good enough to carry them to a playoff spot, even if CJ Stroud isn't very good this year.
It did last year.
But if CJ Stroud is better, if it, again, doesn't have to be MVP CJ Stroud, but just be an above average quarterback in this year's AFC, they could go to the Super Bowl. They could, because that defense is that good. They've got, we were going through it with the top 10 list. Like both their safeties are top 12 in the league. Both their cornerbacks are top 10 in the league. Both their pass rushers are top 6 in the league. Azeez Al-Shire is a top 10 linebacker. That team is just absolutely loaded on defense. If they just get decent quarterback play, they could be really good. And then the Jaguars, I never know what to think with the Jaguars. It's like last year, I didn't think they were going to be very good. Oh, they go 13-4. So you look and you say, all right, well, that's a 13-4 team. They didn't lose a ton from last year.
Travis Etienne to New Orleans.
Yeah. Call me a homer. I like Bashal Tutin.
Oh, okay.
I like Bashal Tutin in the backfield. It's a good team, but I never know what to expect with the Jaguars. Like every time it feels like you think they're going to be a playoff contender, they suck. And every time you feel like they're going to suck, they're right in the thick of things. So I have no idea.
I feel like they've regressed a little bit. One, because Brian Thomas, you can't get a good gauge on him as a true number one if he has the yips and keeps dropping passes. Or, I mean, you can look at the other flip of the coin for this when it comes to Travis Hunter. Not going to take that majority of the snaps on offense. He's going to be primarily a cornerback. So that's a little bit of a loss for a draft pick like that.
Yeah, they've got good players. With Thomas has shown he can be a good player. Took a step backwards. Can he get back to what he was as a rookie? Jacoby Myers is a good player at wide receiver. Parker Washington's had some big games. Brenton Strange is a solid tight end. Their draft this year was horrible, though. Like, just ugly. They did get Emmanuel Pregnon, who was a guard that I kind of thought the Titans might be interested in out of Oregon. But outside of that, they reached on almost every single player that they picked. So
it took like 3 tight ends.
Yes. Yeah, they took Borkirker, who I think was projected as like a 4th round pick, 50th overall or something like that. So I don't know what's going on down there. I think Trevor Lawrence is a fine quarterback. I think they've got some weapons. I think the offensive line is solid. I think they've got good pieces on defense, especially on the edge. But I'm with you. I think I'm going to pick them 3rd in the division. We're going to do our official predictions around the NFL of actual records and going game by game. But if I had to look at the AFC South now, if they get a fully healthy Daniel Jones, which is an if, even though he's been cleared to practice, I would go Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's respectable.
But I don't think the Titans are going to be 3-14 this year.
No.
I think they'll be better, but you can still be better and be in 4th place in the division.
I mean, is it safe to say I think Jacksonville and Tennessee will be fighting for that 3rd spot?
It's possible. But they also won 13 games last year. So
true. I just have the hunch that Titans are going to be better than 6 wins.
I think I'd put them right at 6 right now.
Okay.
And that's what I'd have to look through the schedule, but just off the top of my head, I think I'd put them at 6, give or take a win. And I think that still might be worst in the division. Like, I would say Jacksonville's probably a 7 to 8 win team. Indy's like an 8 to 10 win team. And I think Houston with that defense is more like a 9 to 12 win team. Like, if I'm, again, big ballparks there, but I just think that's how I'd hedge it out, would be Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the first 3 games to the Titans, it favors them a little bit just because New York, hopefully you get the momentum rolling there.
Yeah.
And then I think you're catching Philly at the right time. The gelling is not there quite yet for the offense. And same with New York. I think that's something else there. So that's just me, though.
The start gives you the opportunity to get off to an early run. But again, this team's won 3 games each of the last 2 years. If you're 2-1 coming out of those first 3 games, that's
great.
Amazing. And then you've got the Browns at home. That should be a win. I think you can beat the Jaguars at home, especially coming off a bye. I don't know what the Commanders are going to look like by December. Is Jaden Daniels on the field at that point? That one could be a win. I think the Steelers is a winnable game. The Raiders is a winnable game. So there are games that you look at up and down that schedule and you say the Titans, if they're as improved roster-wise as you think they are, they're going to be more competitive with the middle of the pack to lower level teams in the NFL. But I'd still stick with 6 right now.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good baseline.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more segment left with you. Again, Mike Borgonzi, Robert Saleh going to speak at noon. We'll take your final thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Wrapping up the show on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Chase and Big Joe are coming up in just about 10 minutes. Corey Curtis will be in with us for the full show tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll react to everything that Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh have to say and get ready for training camp practice number 1 tomorrow morning over at Vanderbilt Health Football Park. Sports Park? I don't know. I keep messing that one up. It will always be Ascension St. Thomas in my mind, but it's Vanderbilt Health. Is it football facility?
Football center.
Football center.
Yeah.
That's what center is the word that always trips me up.
That's why in the videos I just say we're out at the Titans practice facility.
Yeah, maybe that's what I need to do is just there at the Titans practice facility. Vanderbilt Health Football Center. That's the word that was always tripping me up. Wrapping up the show here, Justin Herbert finally got a ring. He just proposed to Madison Beer.
It's the best one of all.
There
I mean, have you
go.
seen her?
Yeah. So there you go. Justin Herbert engaged. We'll see if he can ever add another one.
Good for him. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is she like a music artist? Or...
She's a pop star.
Okay. All right. So
Gotcha.
does music. Okay.
I was going to say, I don't know if I've ever heard any of her music.
Yes,
but,
you have.
Oh, has it been played on Fridays?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Good to know.
I was going to say, I know who she is. I did not know. I couldn't name a single one of her songs.
I was going to say, because Josh Allen's married to Steinfeld?
Haley Steinfeld. Yeah.
I saw her in concert one time, or she opened for a concert.
That's right. She was a musician too. Like she's kind of leaned more into acting lately.
Well, she did Pitch Perfect, and then she started making music.
Right.
And then she got more into acting.
Yeah, because she was in Sinners.
What's up with all these football players going for music artists? Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce.
That's true. Yeah.
What's going on here?
Like
is there an NFL type?
There's a meeting of worlds between pop culture and football lately.
They better leave Sabrina alone. She's mine.
There you go. Staking your claim, Connor. Before we wrap up the show here, Titans training camp starts today. And I think tomorrow is going to be a day full of overreactions one way or the other. Like that's how this thing goes. It's like week 1 in the NFL season. You get all the overreactions from week 1 because it's the only data point you have for that season. So if a team wins, oh man, they're way better than I thought they were going to be. If a team loses, it's like, oh man, they suck. They're in for a long season, but it's just week 1. I think that's kind of similar to practice number 1 of training camp is if Cam Ward has a great day, everybody as Robbie Rexford would call them, the Cam Dews are going to be out of the woodwork. Oh, Cam Ward, MVP season incoming if he has a great day. If he has a bad day, it's going to be, oh, here we go again. Cam Ward didn't progress at all in the 6 weeks between OTAs and training camp. It is just one practice heading into training camp. I think this week is really important to see, it's multiple practices in a row that media gets to see day over day over day, and you get to see overall how the progress is coming for guys like Ward and Tate and the defense. So I'm excited to see it. I do think tomorrow is going to be filled with overreactions no matter which way it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, the Titans do their own media stuff online about how, Cam Ward, like you said, the sky was dark when he walked into the building. You got to live up to that.
Yep.
You have to live up to that, regardless of the overreaction.
Yeah. I think you'd like to see Cam Ward come out and have a good first day. You saw progress from OTAs into mini camp. He had a much better week at mini camp than he did towards the end of the offseason program. Training camp, again, it's just day 1, but you'd like to see him looking more comfortable like he did at the end of mini camp heading into training camp. He's been working with his wide receivers down in Miami. We've seen the videos of all that. Let's see if all the work is paid off. But again, also, it's just day 1. And I just know there's going to be overreactions to not just Cam Ward. Like if Carnell Tate has a great day, oh, here we go. Offensive rookie of the year. If Xavier Restrepo has a great day, oh, he's making the team. It's one practice though. Let's see, like we got we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week of practices all the way through. It's like, let's see where we are starting next week. And because it's easier to make deductions when you got more data points. And
right.
I feel like we need to wait on more data points than just practice number 1 tomorrow. But because it's the first one, that's all we're going to have to go off of.
Yeah. And as Connor mentioned last night about Alontae Taylor and Carnell Tate if they go up against each other, it's like the headline will be, is Carnell Tate that good? Or is
Right.
Alontae Taylor that bad?
That is
like,
true.
You're just probably thinking, relax. relax.
That's also a big part of training camp too, is you're going against each other. So like, that's the question. It's like, oh, the defense won the day. It's like, all right, well, is the defense good or is the offense that bad? Or vice versa.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's always a big storyline. If I can make a prediction, the defense is going to win the day tomorrow. I think that's what always seems to happen in training camp, is the defense starts stronger than the offense. Tomorrow, I would be shocked if one of the big storylines coming out of practice isn't the defense won the day.
For sure. I mean, you'll probably hear, if Carnell Tate struggles, he looks like a rookie wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like we get that. I mentioned this to Connor last night as well. Like, to me, if Alontae Taylor and Carnell Tate go up against each other, it's about that 5-yard break. Who's going to react to what? Like, if they're playing press man, like, would love to see if Carnell Tate gets over the top of Alontae Taylor, if Alontae Taylor gets his true, hands in it, and then the separation where he dictates where the wide receiver is going to go.
Yeah.
I think that is the key emphasis on day one for a data point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am excited. I think Carnell Tate, Alontae Taylor is going to be one of those matchups to watch throughout all of training camp this week. So starts tomorrow, first practice. We'll get to hear from we're going to get to hear from Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh coming up in under 10 minutes here. And again, can't air it, but we will have reaction to it throughout the day today on the show. Before we wrap up here, I don't know if you saw Dr. Crane. I got it. When we have Nick Frazier on, we've got to talk about some obscure sport of some sort. Did you see the Netflix challenge that they're putting out there?
No, I thought you were going to ask about Luke Littler. I was like,
I am asking about Luke Littler.
No, they're doing a documentary on him.
No, they're doing a challenge. They're doing a challenge of, can you beat Luke Littler in a game of 501? And you can apply online and talk about like how long you've been playing darts, and the winner, if you can beat him, you win 501,000 pounds or something like that. So I was going to ask you, do you think you could beat him? Should you apply?
No, but if I get to meet him, I would shake his hand, get a picture, and ask for a rookie card. I would.
This is a 16-year-old kid, by the way.
18.
18.
Oh, he's 18 now?
Okay.
He passed his driver's test after the 6th time. He's good to go.
Have we been talking about him for 2 years now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Luke the Nuke. He's won like every single event so far this year, right?
He's better than Phil Taylor, the power Phil Taylor. That's I don't know if anybody's familiar with darts, but Phil Taylor is like let's put it this in best way. He's like the real TB12, like the true TB12.
Okay.
And Luke Littler is the Tom Brady, the TB12, and he's actually overlapping it at this point. So don't ever, disregard the power of Phil Taylor, but Luke the Nuke is the next best thing.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday and I immediately thought of you. I was like, man, Nick Frazier should apply for this. I'd love to see you going head to head with Luke Littler.
I would get destroyed because I can hit like probably a triple 20 once every like 6 throws.
Yeah.
No, I just give me the solid numbers. We're good. Play cricket. I'm good with that.
Right.
Maybe have a better chance.
I mean, it's going to be one of those things where there's probably, let's say he plays 50 people. There's probably going to be 2 that actually make it somewhat interesting. Yeah. And I wonder if the producers might like tell him like, hey, just like take it a little easy. We can't have you just blowing everybody out. But yeah, I thought it was a great idea. One of those like, who was the chess guy that was it Magnus Carlsen? It was like a big thing of like, can you beat him? He was like the master of chess. Like, I like these things when you've got somebody who's so good at a game or, something like this. And it's like, can the average person, anyone, get lucky enough and beat him?
He's just so good. He is so freaking good. It's unbelievable. So those people that don't play darts or follow darts, just look him up. He's incredible.
Yeah, I did see the video. We talked about it last week. I saw the video of it, and it was special to see him get the 9-dart finish.
It's electric, man. It is a euphoric feeling. It has to be.
That'll wrap things up for us today. Again, big day as training camp opens up. We're going to hear from Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh coming up soon. Again, we'll have reaction throughout the day here on the station with Chase and Big Joe and DVD. Dr. Crane, Connor Newt, great having you in. Nick, we will talk again on Friday.
Indeed.
We'll have you in for the show. So enjoy football season. Not officially, but unofficially starting today. We'll be back 9 a.m. tomorrow. Corey Curtis in with us. Keep it right here. Chase and Big Joe up next on 102.5 The Game.